The man awakened the strongest hidden S-level profession in the gaming world. Not only did he pay off the high-interest loans, he achieved the incredible S-rank title. From then on, he started his journey to rise from obscurity in the game. This is a virtual game called Satisfy. The moderator's name is Gelide. To pay off the loan. Today he finally found the mind-blowing S-level mission gear in this maze. The legendary book tells the story of a peculiar person. Greed almost drove Gelide to jump off a building for a loan. He was still complaining that he couldn't quit the S-level mission halfway through. This reminds me of that detestable Aishur who always sabotaged his trades. Grid began to appraise the 4 level 4 pieces of equipment. He just realized it now. To get this gear, you'll need to spend 3,000 yuan of your own money to appraise it. Therefore, Grid, who was in debt, started to Omar. After all, he had reached his limit. But in the end, he gritted his teeth and handed over his parents' modest savings to buy the equipment. A golden light flashed. Grid was also shocked by this scene. System prompt. Obtain the legendary equipment, Pagma's Grimoire. This book records all the skills of the greatest blacksmith, Pujima. Just open it to become a descendant of Pujima. System prompt level, legendary. Continental fame increased by 500. The legendary craftsman Pagma's descendant. That's right. The legendary exclusive production book that Grid obtained. This is an S-rank equipment worth 1,000,000 Originium primes. This money will finally allow her to pay off her student loan. Gaining everyone's approval, so I am about to say goodbye to my loser life immediately. When he was about to exit the game, the system indicated that I could not log out. The reason is simple. His covert request, an S-level mission, was upgraded to S-level. Yanjia Aishioer wants to steal his own skill book. Grid began to shout. After all, he had poured everything into this game. As the sharp blade behind him swung towards him, his survival instinct, honed through years of struggle, surged to the forefront. He dodged the attack. After all, I am a level 73 player. So, Greed immediately cast Guardian's shield on the attacker. The other side easily shattered his shield. Here's the translation. Still in shock, Grid. Lima was immediately sent flying into the distant trees, seeing her health bar drop to half, and the high-level NPCs who kept coming to him. Grid, lying on the ground, could only curse the game developers. At the critical moment, Greed saw the skill book in his pocket. Rather than dying and losing gear, it's better to use the legendary class yourself. So he opened the legendary book of autocratic skills. To be a dedicated descendant of Pagma at this moment. System message. All abilities and skills have been initialized. He has become a dedicated descendant of Pagma. Grid, who has acquired Paguma's lineage skill. My body is full of strength now. He saw how furious Aishur looked. He also decided to personally kill the enemy himself. Perfectly complete the task. The system prompts have a level 1 access permission for dedicated successful functions. By death. Billionaire man obtains legendary solo leveling profession. Not only can you craft awesome golden equipment, he was still at the bottom of the game world's power ranking. However, before changing jobs, Grid. Every day, she goes to the manpower agency to pay back money. He borrowed the loan himself. When he got home, after re-entering the game, he was unexpectedly transported to the high-level annex. This sparked his curiosity, as he had just been promoted to level 1. When he looked around, after entering a cave, he discovered that high-level elite monsters were hidden inside. After entering the cave, discover the kidnapped female spirit master. Just found out I accidentally teleported to the 150th level of the dungeon. Asia-Pacific Divine Temple. My system then displayed Grid's character list, ID, class, and title. Health points 14. Divine power 3, weight limit 30/35. All other stats are 1. And the system prompts that because of the weight, the moving speed will be reduced by 100%, the chance of entering an abnormal state will increase. At this time, the only Grid, although he was just a small Kara. But his profession allowed him to equip higher level gear, although there is special punishment. But he still couldn't believe that as a level 1, he could wear level 60 equipment. Although equipment attribute effects are reduced by 50%. But being a level 1, I can wear level 60 gear. Other tier 1 equipment has stats that are 10 times higher. This is what makes legendary classes so ridiculously overpowered. However, at this time, Grid did not realize that he was still in the dungeon of the level 150 instance. Spotting elite monsters wandering nearby, as well as the kidnapped noblewoman. Determined, I prepared to sneak away so I wouldn't get dropped for being killed. He patted Grid on the shoulder. For this, Grid sheathed his sword. I just realized who this person in front of me is. This is the secret bodyguard of Count Stalin's family, Duran. To rescue the kidnapped lord's daughter. And encountering Grid here. System notification, rescue the Count's daughter. S-level mission. Reward: become the Count's son-in-law. Failure: drop 2 levels. Grid, who was given an S-level mission by the system, just now realizing that Duran is an NPC. Because this is a place for high-level parents of level 150, a Grid who appears here without falling into a negative state is incredibly powerful. It was because Grid, who was a legendary class, had the innate invincible attribute that he didn't fall into a negative state. Therefore, the NPC requested Grid to rescue the Countess' daughter. Grid refused. Although the mission reward was 3,000 gold coins, equivalent to 20,000 atoms. However, the last time he lost $1 million because of an S-level mission, so he was hesitant when NPC Duran requested a mission. Grid decisively refused. After all, he's still just a level 1 player. Later, during the argument, Grid accidentally touched the snake beside him. Then the elite monster below was smashed to death. The system prompt is to accept the S-level mission to rescue the Countess. When the Lightbringer and the Darkbringer, 2 legendary figures at the pinnacle of their respective professions, met, what kind of legendary story will be told? Here's the translation. At this moment, Grid is accepting the legendary quest. He also found this NPC named Duran. This is like giving yourself a gift to complete the mission. Not only is she incredibly strong, he also has high-level equipment that can remove all negative status effects. But the moment he was thrust into the air, NPC Dulan still used the levitation spell. This landed me safely on the ground. I hadn't even celebrated getting a free S-rank mission yet. The S-rank mission to save the Count's daughter has just begun. The elite monster gathered resentment, preparing to unleash its ultimate attack. I was still clueless and asked the NPC what it was for. Dulan directly pulled out his Shaoli flying bullet. Take down all the Calamity elites who are casting spells. Seeing NPCs handle level 150 elite monsters with ease. Right now, I just want to lie down and relax. Then you could easily take down this S-level character. But unexpectedly, it was little Kalami ahead. But it increased her casting speed. He directly engaged an NPC who was fully charged with skills. Thus, the small devotee Kalami began to arrogantly declare that she would bury us here. Dulan in extremis. But they used their own will and faith. He shattered the impact of negative skills. I stood there, jaw dropped. Dulan focused her energy on the enemy's hand. Then she instantly propelled her opponent forward. Just as Shao Kalami was about to be done for. Suddenly, they activated their light shields. As the sound of footsteps approached from afar. Unexpectedly, their fight attracted a famous player. The arrival of the blood-stained witch. Eula didn't expect to encounter an NPC like Duran. After all, he's the perennial top dark wizard. He possesses both beauty and strength. Right now, it's hitting the window at level 80, common for Ma Men's greed. The fact that it's hard to accomplish this task. Even though I have Duran, a high-level NPC. But as a top-tier dark magician in the mainland. At level 230, he was certainly powerful enough to challenge him. Then, Duran began to seize the initiative. After all, hesitation will only lead to inaction. Be one step ahead of everyone else. He then quickly launched an attack. Yura blocked his attack with his staff. But he quickly spun a black serve in his hand, launched toward Duran's head. Duran was then pierced by his attack. Just when I thought Dulan could hold on for a while, Eula once again infused 30% of her divine power to unleash her ultimate skill. A green light burst forth from Duran's hand. It turned out the ring on his finger was immune to level 220 advanced hypnosis. Even Eula was shocked. After all, he, the number 1 mage, never expected this to happen. Confused, I asked my older brother a question. Big brother chuckled as he explained that he had only resisted the curse because of this artifact. I brazenly asked my older brother if he could give me that kind of one-day equipment. Eula had already raised the magical palm in her hand. Chanting a spell. Launches an ultimate mega blast. Dark Storm. As the Dark Storm quickly approached us, Dulan now has nowhere to retreat. But greed appeared before him. Then, amidst a massive cloud of smoke, it exploded into flames. Jelide's armor was completely intact. She calmly blocked this powerful strike. The man unexpectedly obtained the world's extremely rare legendary knight. He was a small, young Tarami in the early days. To finish that damn task? Unexpectedly, she directly helped her older brother block the mage's ultimate attack. Thus, she became the top dark magician on the mainland. He looked surprised to see me in one piece. But when the NPC brother stepped on me and charged at the dark magician, magic began to gather in Eula's hands. Launched the Diamond Wall team. He repelled Duran's final attack. Eula, who had reached his limit, kept searching for me in the smoke. But after the smoke cleared, I suddenly disappeared from her sight. This also made her feel the unfathomable depth in me. It turned out that when his health bar was down to 1, NPC Duran, because of his sudden jump behind him, Reduce my HP to 0. Although very strong, he is also a pig teammate. Dejected, my haggard appearance became a meme. The system announced my character's death. A temporary 2-episode decline, now 3. 2 deaths in 24 hours. Unable to log in for 12 hours. At this moment, all I can do is watch Task C with regret. Taken away by someone else. Although she has deeply reflected on her actions. But I still became a black sheep on the player notice board. But the younger sister in the distance suddenly appeared behind me. When I was about to introduce this game to my sister as a money-making game, she saw the side of me that transformed into Xiao Haizi. I'll start framing my right-hand wife directly. Then she was treated like scum by her younger sister. My impression of Yura dropped again. In Sadisa's message the next day, there was a lot of commotion when I was doing the task. Seeing the girl and the man in the distance, Dylan ultimately rescued the Lord's daughter alone. Although it's hard to believe. But in the end, she still fell due to her severe injuries. Even though she's an NPC, she's definitely someone you can rely on. He is also a good person with high-end equipment. Finally, I was ready to lie down and go to sleep. Sadisa learned about a new career from the news. Confident warrior. It can change its form. It will also increase in attack power. Absorb the target's health points. This also allowed her to rise directly to rank 53 in just half a month. After all, it took her half a year to reach level 70 before changing classes. So, I saw this epic profession. As a descendant of Pagma, I also want to write my own legend. As a descendant of the legendary Pagma. At this moment, Greed could finally craft his own equipment. When she was working on the blueprint, the greatest craftsmen in history and the strongest equipment are born. But greedy me, when adding additional attributes, it simply says, one-hit kill, as its special attribute. Then, a great sword shaped like a shark was completed. Before I could react, the system started to prompt. Automatically enhance equipment attributes and materials. The system was adjusting many unrealistic attributes. When the blueprint was completed in an instant, I actually understood all the equipment information. This is where Grid, the one who drew the first blueprints, came in. This moment has turned him into a real blacksmith. Looking at these godlike stats and the unrealistic skill, cut off, Grid is this happy for the first time. But facing materials that require a 200G team to farm, there are also heaven-defying usage conditions. At this moment, Grid also understood that even if he added all his attributes to strength, it's also difficult to achieve. So for him, this sword, which looks like a shark, it's simply a failure. But for him, who can wear any equipment, although it comes with some penalties when worn. But this broadsword, as long as it can be worn, is already incredibly powerful. So what he needs to do now is gather the materials and join the Forest Guardians. However, because his own equipment and level were too low, the group leader directly rejected Grid's inclusion, even saying he has a legendary career. But the squad leader still rejected me outright. However, the player with the in-game ID, Legas, but was told I could be helped to join the team. His fame has already reached the ears of ordinary players. After all, he was known as Quan Xing, a handsome guy with a protagonist aura. This text makes me feel that the world is unfair. However, when he allowed me to join I wickedly grinned, thinking that although he wasn't much to look at, he was actually a pretty decent guy. But when he said he wanted a one-on-one duel with me, I just realized this person is a total fraud. This surprised the Justice League Union president very much. Justice League Guild players. These players are all top-ranked on the leaderboard, but because of the extremely small number of tourists, this leads to a lower reputation compared to the team's size and ranking. So every time during a raid, always get attacked by nearby casual players. So, to complete the S-rank mission, basic cards only allow team members to start leveling up, and strongly stated that every guild member should increase their level by at least 15. Therefore, the base card also understands that the maker of this batch of equipment, the equipment he crafted easily surpasses all existing gear. Meanwhile, on the other side, the most powerful blacksmith player in mainland China, Yu was also observing this epic Yafa sword. This is what makes a top-notch blacksmith so awesome. Maximum attack power exceeds 40 with a special effect that ignores defense. This might be even better than a typical level 20 weapon. After receiving 100 Yafa swords and 3 Yafa cast irons from the blacksmith, Grid finally walked out of the smithy unscathed. Quan Xinglei Jiasi. Meet Shield Tower Ban. The Berserker Bantina charged forward with full force. After the battle ends, the chairman gritted his teeth as he looked at the dead little geese on the ground. Mingming caught base but got backstabbed by a minion. The loss this time is too big. Fortunately, he obtained 30 pieces of black iron ore, 7 pieces of Oriharakan, and 1 piece of blue Oriharakan. However, the extremely low violence amethyst shield still hasn't appeared. However, 75 team members died in this instance. All in all, it's safe to say it was worth it. The Justice League Union only has 17 official members. They follow the principle of preferring scarcity over poor quality. We only recruit elite players. It's precisely because there are too few people, like this 100-person group. They can only team up with regular players. But so far, I still haven't obtained the Amethyst Shield. The S-rank chain quest ends here. Just as the Gagas were about to give up, the president abruptly stood up. All Justice League members must be raised by at least 15 levels within 3 months. If I find you sleeping for more than 6 hours, don't blame me for exposing you. Seeing Huizhang's grim expression, the team members could only agree weakly. Jishuka attended the auction after handling union affairs. He needs to prepare more Yafa swords for the upcoming raid. But seeing the price of 18 silver coins for the arrows, Jishuka couldn't help but widen her eyes. This is his epic Yada sword. Who on earth is the divine figure that created this? For such a long time, he had commissioned countless blacksmiths. None of them were capable of crafting higher-grade arrows. Observing the attributes of the Yafa Jian's special technique, Jishuka almost forgot to breathe. Perhaps a player has appeared in the game, a being stronger than the blacksmiths on the leaderboard. Just now, all Justice League members received the president's latest mission. Find the players whose level is lower than their skill level among the top 100 blacksmiths. That person might be the key to completing our S-rank chain quest. Even the leader of the Justice League, Jishuka, renowned for her elite players. They have to admit they need the help of this mysterious blacksmith. What happened to the Justice League quickly spread among the hardcore gamers. And then Nasik's epic-level Yafe sword became a benchmark for all blacksmiths. Even Panmir, the #1 blacksmith, has only created 2 epic pieces of equipment so far. Facing such a property of the Yafa sword, Panmil could only admit his inferiority. Translate this passage into English with the following requirements. The translation must be natural, concise, easy to understand, engaging, and in standard American English style. The most important requirement is absolute accuracy. Proper names in the text, especially Chinese names, must be transcribed into English using the pinyin system, with no errors or omissions. Do not use underscores, underscore symbol, quotation marks, ellipses, or apostrophes. Do not use any special characters at the beginning of a sentence. Clearly distinguish between the third-person singular pronouns, he and she, using them appropriately in context. Proceed directly with the translation and provide the answer, without reiterating any of my requests in any form. This is the text. Who can know? In the game, a mysterious blacksmith from Poland causes a huge stir. He is currently standing in line in a crowded crowd. It was for a daily snack allowance of 200 yuan. Grid finally learned the iron forging technique of Banjin. Looking at all 99 arrows for sale. This is worth a total of 71 gold coins and 28 silver coins. This converts to nearly $500 in cash, making 500 in 6 hours. There's no way I can spend all of this. He immediately went to the auction house, hastily retrieved her gaming pen. If you want to make equipment as your brick-moving career, then there's no need to rush out of Bailon village. But the thought of the blacksmith, who was always stuck in his shop, came to mind. For his own chrysanthemum health, Grid decisively chose to travel by carriage. He's going to attack the players' gathering place, Winston. That area is now led by the Stalin family. Gazing at the distant city, Grid witnessed longing. I wonder if a descendant of Boma like me can make a killing in the novice village. Looking at the bustling street, this place seems even livelier than Bailon village. Grid first arrived at the warehouse to store the unnecessary items he was carrying. Looking at his meager belongings, Grid immediately activated his identification skill. As understanding of equipment usage increases, the penalties for using overleveled gear have correspondingly decreased. But within the safe zone, no need for equipment-based attributes. Hello? The warehouse fee is 30 silver coins. Grid was filled with a deadly resolve. He put the long sword and armor inside. But it's better to carry the remaining arquebus with you. After all, adding a position costs an extra 10 silver coins. Just like that, Grid strode into Winston's smithy. Here's the translation. Looking at the Muliaisi gate, this place is even larger than Bailon village. The blacksmith inside is certainly nicer than the previous uncle. Grid entered the door with an excited heart. Who knew the blacksmith's shop would be so empty? Sorry about that. My blacksmith shop is no longer in business. In fact, due to the Marrow Trading Group selling equipment made by blacksmiths from other regions at extremely low prices. No one has come here to buy equipment for a long time. This is troublesome. Without the blacksmith shop, how can I put my money-making skills to use? As they were chatting, a bunch of brats rushed in. Get the hell out of here. This is already the territory of the Meiluo Trading Group. Seeing that the situation was not good, Grid is about to leave. But seeing Xiao Gaga's cheerful expression, Grid was extremely unhappy. These guys must be NPC thugs hired by players with gold. It seems they only have 35 episodes. If I help the blacksmith solve his problems, can I get his help? Just as he was thinking, a B-level mission suddenly popped up. The Blacksmith's Fury. Quickly help the blacksmith tidy up Meiluo Trading Company's Xiao Gaga while tearing up the contract. Quest reward, learn the Blacksmith's Fury. Mission failed, Conning Blacksmith is about to die, and all related missions will disappear forever. Seeing this, Grid began to think about his chances of winning. The only skill useful for fighting is the patience of a blacksmith, and that life-saving immortality skill. The key issue is that he isn't carrying any weapons right now. The only usable thing is the silent magic sword in my hand. However, it can trigger the effect of ignoring defense. He still has a chance to instantly defeat them. Fortune favors the bold. A bird faces the sky when it dies. I'm going all in on this one. Who can withstand the wrath of a legendary blacksmith? Grid charged forward, brandishing the silent sword. But what awaited him was Xiao Ge, Ashley's next attack. How can a low-level warrior be so fast? I need to figure something out. Seeing the narrow staircase, Gelide is now taking the next leap. They occupied the advantageous terrain. But the next second, Fuzi had already draped it over his head. At the critical moment, the Blacksmith's Fury was triggered. Attack speed gets another boost. Yafa Jian takes the initiative with her sword. Hit Gaga first. Ignore defense effect activation. Only Grid can unleash 2 normal attacks in quick succession. He instantly killed Zai Gaga in 1 round. Winston's foot soldiers have already been dealt with. As Winston's fame rose with Liuji, and he became a mortal enemy of the Footwork sect, he gained 4,300 experience points. Several upgrade notifications catch my eye. Just by killing 1 Vietnamese soldier, Grid leveled up to 8. His single status attribute allocation has now reached 110. But he wanted to kill all 4 low-level warriors at the same time. I have to distribute the attribute points. Strength plus 50, agility plus 60. The blacksmith's rage has 10 seconds remaining. Grid dodged the attack, kicking Zai Gaga in the kidney with a tube. This season, however, there was no critical hit, nor did it trigger an ignore defense effect. Xiao Gaga simply flew backwards. This is the text. Not immediate death. Now the little ones understand. The young man with the spear wasn't some great master. He was just using the stairs as cover. This is just to limit the reach of our long-range weapons. It's great to see the little Gagas are no longer blindly charging. Grid calmly walked down the stairs. He came before everyone without saying a word. He needs to wait for the right moment. No matter how much the little Gagas talk trash, Grid still walked toward the encirclement without slowing down. He is waiting for the patience of the courier and the blacksmith to be triggered. This skill can enhance defense and health within an hour. Moreover, this thing cannot be opened manually. With his buff, combined with the immortal effect, it's enough for Grid to withstand the output of 4 people, giving him the chance to take them down. Looks like you've given up. We'll send you off then. The little Gagas were about to start, but the blacksmith's patience hadn't been triggered yet. Greed almost cursed the operations team's ancestors again. Just then, Xiao Jie charged forward, yelling, and swung his weapon. Grid quickly jumped up and dodged. Finished. My skill bonuses are gone. How could an 8th level player possibly defeat 4 level 35 warriors? At this loud noise, Grid was simultaneously hit by 2 houses. He immediately pulled out his life potion and drank it. His maximum health was only 316. K could only drink the 1500 ultimate life potion. He wasted another 5 yuan. A flash of light passed by. Grid turned sideways to avoid it. Get ready for the arrival of the next prefect. The arrow landed precisely on the axe blade. But the 2 sides were too uneven in strength. Grid collapsed onto the floor. He lost a whopping 200 health points. If the passive skill still doesn't trigger, the legendary blacksmith who just reached level 8. Perhaps another hidden regret for the Northwest. The cost of angering an honest person can be immense. Yen can goat Sahua not giving face. Grid opened 2 bottles of a tribute potion. Ultimate strength potion applied successfully. Ultimate agility potion applied successfully. These 2 bottles of potion are 10 gold coins each, which translates to 150 yuan in cash. He meowed that he had passed Grid and could eat instant noodles for a month. As the medicine entered her body, Grid's figure became increasingly agile. But facing the combined attack of 2 little Gagas, even without equipment bonuses, Grid was still no match for his opponent. The injury to his thigh severely affects his speed. We have to find a way to stall the cooldown time of the life potion. Hand over the contract, and I'll let you live. watching Greed feign composure. Xiao Gaga couldn't help but raise her hand in mockery. You little punk, you're about to lose your own life. But before little Gaga could finish her sentence, Grid's aggressive forward charge activates critical strike, ignoring defense. Xiao Gaga was once again killed in one hit. Don't tell me you weren't paying attention and got hit. I would never fight fairly with an NPC. Gain 4,300 experience points. You have been upgraded as the thin strip upgrade prompt pops up. Grid's thigh injury is also continuously healing. Now Xiao Jie completely understands why the movement speed suddenly increased. Turns out it's a little useless thing that relies on bluffing. Die, you bastard! The longsword swung high and down. He was about to strike at Grid. Seeing the other person's function activate, Grid, taking aim, charged forward with his tooth-shaped sword. But another bald man suddenly appeared in front of Grid, and he used his meat needle to block the attack of the tooth-lost sword. Lao Zi's full-face defense. Two little children darted out from behind the bald man. Charging at Jelly, they strike together. After this heavy blow, Grid's health hit rock bottom. At the critical moment, Grid discovered a complete set of equipment on the second floor. This might just save my life. Yaphagian fiercely stabbed into Xiaogaga's back. Xuanqi Jel-eyed through the arrow behind her without hesitation. Taking advantage of Xiaogaga's block, he quickly pulled away, frantically running to the second floor. Under Gaga's playful gaze, Grid finally stood before the mysterious equipment. Master Blacksmith, can I borrow this for a bit? Certainly, but you won't be able to wear it. The next second, the Gagas had also arrived on the second floor. Even at death's door, you still want to resist. I see you really won't cry until you see the coffin. The words had barely left her mouth when they charged. Clearly not prepared to waste any more time. Bupin passed by in a flash. Grid's face was icy as he looked at everyone. He is now wearing the blacksmith shop's prized treasure. He swung the blade with a swift, powerful movement, as if cutting through melons and vegetables. The three Gagas met their demise simultaneously. Congratulations. You have solved Winston's pace molecules, earning 15,200 experience points, and reaching maximum affinity with Khan. Ironforged Wrath. It is already done. Legendary Blacksmith Greed. He finally got the decent equipment worthy of his style. Golden armor encased her entire body, plus a 10-meter-long broadsword. Valhalla level 1 increases defense by 872. Life regeneration speed increased by 20%, defense against slashing and piercing attacks increased by 10%, usage requirements level 250 and above. Heijini Sword Broad Arc Replica level 1 increases attack power from 451 to 635, attack speed decreases by 8%. Gain adaptive damage boost based on the opponent's defense. Above level 250. The longer the keyword, the more impressive it is. This set of equipment is definitely not simple. Looks like this old blacksmith is also a man with stories. Who would have guessed that Greed would ask a question? The old blacksmith suddenly collapsed. Can NPCs even get drunk? Uncle, since the first task is already done. So, what's the next task? But no matter how much Grid asked, the old blacksmith remained unresponsive. What about the chain task? Old man, get up quickly. Believe it or not, I'll scatter your ashes. Meanwhile, Meiluo Shangtuan Manor. The chairman already knows about the sudden disappearance of the Xiaogaga. To monopolize Winston's blacksmith business, the Meiluo syndicate paid a significant price. They surely won't tolerate the existence of other blacksmith shops. Since someone has openly started trouble, then I'll show him what the hell a business group is. Early the next morning, Grid was eating the fried rice with a look of pure ecstasy on his face. She rose to level 21 in one breath. Also found a piece of unique equipment. This Class B chain quest is so lucrative. I don't know how Kain is recovering in the hospital. I really want to take advantage of this chain task. From bird guns to cannons. Returning to Smith Hospital once again. Kain, the blacksmith, had recovered from his hangover. You can be discharged now as long as you control your alcohol intake. He leaned in from behind. The treatment fee is 1 gold coin. You wouldn't dare try to skip out on the bill, would you? Back to the smithy. Grid is like a golden grandson. Carefully deliver the old blacksmith's order to the equipment price. Grandpa, why don't you give this equipment to me? You don't use it anyway. How about I take care of you in your old age? Although Grid saved the old blacksmith's life. But these two heirlooms are treasures his family has guarded for generations. For centuries, only the man named Pajima. The chain quest has finally been triggered. As the old blacksmith watched in astonishment, Grid's cheeks gradually turned rosy. I am actually a descendant of Pujima. The words had barely left her mouth when a system notification popped up. The job change quest is triggered. Collect all the legends related to Pagma, using his sword dance as a clue. When accepting a job transfer, you will not be able to change your profession. Job change quest requirements. Complete all chain quests. Chain quest 1, Pajima's sword dance. Success reward, Hagni's sword. After reading the job transfer guidelines, Grid almost burst into tears. Damn, his weapons and armor were given in 2 separate shipments. Goat Sahwa is so stingy. Grid held the heart of a grandson. He also needs to get rid of 2 unique pieces of equipment. But the dog planner hit him right between the eyes. Beat Grid back into human form. Since you are a descendant of Pagma, let's have a drink and settle down for a bit. Watching the old man about to drink again. Immediately, Grid snatched back the wine glass. At that moment, a man's polite voice came from the doorway. Are you the blacksmith Khan? Grid took the opportunity to collect the Wolf Mother wine. It was worth 2 gold coins after all. Are you from the Marrow Trading Group? The old blacksmith lowered his head in shame. Indeed, the matter wasn't so easily resolved. Since you owe us 600 gold coins and can't repay, I want to give you another chance. Just hand over the blacksmith shop. We will offer you a high salary and operational authority. Before the man finished speaking, the old blacksmith decisively chose to refuse. You want me to become a lackey for the Meiluo Trading Company? You are delusional. Xiao Gaga nodded, a look of I knew it on his face. Then I will compromise on the following. Let's have a gear crafting duel. If you win, we will waive your debt. If you lose, the blacksmith shop is ours. The conditions sound very tempting, but I haven't done it for a long time. Let my successor compete for me. No problem. Watching the old blacksmith point at himself, Grid was instantly annoyed. He thought, why does good stuff never come to me? Working hard has actually benefited me. Before Grid could continue complaining, a system prompt popped up. Level a quest. Engage in an equipment crafting duel with the Marrow Merchant Group. Mission reward, Winston's reputation plus 500, 600 gold coins. Mission failed. At the lowest point of Winston's fame, ownership of the Khan's smithy will transfer to the Marrow Trading Company. See if the option is accepted. Grid fell into hesitation. This was not part of the chain quest. Should I really take the risk? As the number 600 caught my eye. What's there to hesitate about? A surge of fighting spirit suddenly filled Grid. It felt like ascending into a realm of gold coins. Since you agree, I'll be going then. I'll let you know the time and place later. I'll send someone to inform you. And at this moment Grid, Xiao Gaga was nowhere to be seen. 600 gold coins are equivalent to 4,500 yuan. That's my whole month's salary. As a legendary blacksmith, how could I ever back down in crafting? At that very moment, the old blacksmith took out several long swords before the competition. You can practice with these. Watching the busy blacksmith, Grid shrugged. Don't worry. I will definitely help you win back the blacksmith shop. Who could say no when you're my god of fortune? Just like that. Master Go worked busily all night. He finally sat up from the game pod. Watching the sunset outside the window, Gelide suddenly felt a sense of novelty. The good-natured blacksmith is gone. To win the 600 gold coins reward, Grid was determined to succeed or die trying, continuously refining his hammer skills. Meanwhile, the Meiluo Merchant Guild has posted a wager notice in the city. After reading the notice, this is a blatant act of hypocrisy. Kaan snatched the notice and tore it to shreds. Don't be fooled by their sweet talk. Don't forget who forced us into this. Just as Grid stood by quietly watching the scene, a young boy raised his hand. I think the Mellow Trade Group did the right thing. He did not force anyone when developing the Winston Business District. He saw the green light on top of Xiao Gaga's head. Grid finally realized that this guy was also a player. Since everyone is here for their own interests, there's no need for such deep resentment. Living in harmony with the Meiluo Business Group. It's the best way for everyone. As Xiao Gaga finished persuading. But surprisingly, the PCs actually changed their minds. This scene stunned Grid. He aimed. This game can actually be played by mouth. Khan stood up at this moment. Stranger, you may not know. This is Earl Stelling's territory. The Earl once issued a decree. This is called the right of the people. This means residents have the right to know immediately. Get development information for this area. The Marrow Trade Group clearly did not comply. He misled the residents by taking advantage of information asymmetry. They bought our land and stores at a very low price. Xiao Gaga fell into deep thought after listening. Since it's the Meiluo Merchants Union, they openly violated the Earl's decree. Then I, Hu Luowei, will speak on behalf of everyone. Plead with His Excellency the Count on my behalf. Seeing the expectant gazes of the people, Grid was startled. That's incredible. This kid can actually drive the plot forward. Who is this person? In the woods outside the village, Grid caught up with Gaga as she left. If I'm not mistaken, you're just starting out, kid. It's the task of the Meiluo trading group, right? How did you do that? You were actually able to change the task midway through. Much to everyone's surprise, Xiao Gaga nonchalantly raised her hand. Task sharing commenced. Grid finally saw the details of Xiao Gaga's mission: visit Earl Sterling for a level 8 task, for the residents of Winston. Quest reward: earn the title, Righteous Envoy. Achieve maximum favor and renown with the residents of Winston. Simultaneously earn a reward from Earl Sterling. The reward for this task is too much. This game offers incredible freedom. You can directly influence the NPC's storylines. You can then get the related hidden quests. Basically, players who participated in the closed beta test already know this method. But Greed had no fucking clue. The key point is this guy was also a beta tester, one of the very first. Amid Xiao Gaga's taunts, Grid has been shamed off the line. Watching the disappearing unknown player, Hunuyi stood up straight, ready to move on. From the beginning of the game, he has only reached level 127 after spending 18 hours online every single day. Being a special occupation, a debater, he doesn't have any exclusive gear. Among all the attribute bonuses for professions, it's also considered the sewer status. Therefore, he desperately needed courage, a special attribute that enhanced both attack and defense. But Hunoi firmly believes that as long as she keeps going, he is absolutely going to make the leaderboard. This is the confidence of being Yiming Gandhi. What will the future of gaming look like? Game pod system. Body sensing system. High freedom, high immersion. This is how a game with 2 billion players should be. Farewell to Grid. Hunui stopped at the city gate. Only by leaving this place can you meet Count Sterling. But before Xiao Gaga could convince the soldiers, a familiar voice came from behind. Hunui followed the previous agreement. You need to report back to me after you incite the residents. Seeing the manager of the Mellow Trading Group, Hunui immediately activated his persuasion skill. I'm just going out of town to take care of something. I'll be back soon and finish the task you assigned me. But the housekeeper remained completely unfazed. In my view, you have betrayed the Shangtuan. Hunui was instantly shocked by these words. Why are persuasion skills ineffective? Denied Hunui further opportunities to suppress. The steward ordered the soldiers to make an arrest. Hunui turned around and was about to run away. But this profession of a bear-taming master relies on word of mouth. He doesn't have any escape skills. Changbian suddenly rushed forward. Hunui was caught right in the middle of it. Seeing he was about to be hit by the ball, he quickly pulled out his weapon from the Xiongbian family. But Hunui, who is not good at fighting, is no match for the NPC soldiers. There's only one way then. Force quit. You cannot exit the game right now. Seeing the system prompt, Hunui was completely stunned. We have the ability to prevent players from logging out normally. To prevent you from causing trouble after you are reborn. You will be put in an underground prison. Meanwhile, the A-level mission had become S-level. Task completion conditions. According to real-world time, you cannot exit the game within 50 hours. This task is extremely dangerous. Do you want to give up? With current technology, the game pod can only be used for a maximum of 20 hours. If this time is exceeded, you will be forcibly logged out from the terminal. Based on its current playtime, if I stay for another 50 hours, there is a high chance of a mental breakdown. But what if you adjust the game pod to sleep mode? There's a chance it could last for 50 hours. Fortune favors the bold, said Hului as she accepted the mission. You will be awarded a second profession, the Justice League's partner. By the Justice League's side, all stats increased by 20. Obtain unshakable justice. Skills sacrificed for justice. The mission's failure carries no penalty. The gaming pod is now in sleep mode. From now on, Hului will be in the game cabin. Wait for 50 hours. If an accident occurs, the game company will immediately send staff to rescue. Do not forcibly disconnect the power supply. Sleeping Hului made up her mind. As long as someone can save him from the dungeon, he will fall onto his own heart. And Hului's choice also shocked the game's higher-ups. If it can succeed, he will become one of 2 billion players. The first person to have dual careers. The game company will also keep a close eye on Hului to ensure her safety. So it led to the existence of that variable. This made even the easiest tasks in the design become reliant on a man named Grid. This incredibly challenging task has only a 9% success rate. How high can the freedom of a game go? The storyline can actually change based on the player's choices. But what the game development company didn't expect was, there will be this guy named Grid. They also plan to use double professional players and 50-hour continuous online players for promotion. Since the success rate is not 0%, then don't interfere for now. Looking at the 21 level little Gaga on the screen, the game planner still couldn't hide his headache. This kid is like a virus, and there's no easy way to delete him. But thinking about Grid's incompetence, the planning dad smirked. This kid is the first one to complete a legendary class quest like this. Actually, in this game, there are only 3 epic classes so far. The only one known publicly is the bloodthirsty warrior named Katz. The original epic level gamer remains a mystery. This topic has been constantly discussed in the forum, but no one has a clear answer yet. Who is that player? Mina couldn't hide her shared disappointment. At that very moment, suddenly, a tremendous explosion erupted behind her. The fiery hurricane appeared before Mina like a monstrous beast devouring the sky. This is it. With this, we have everything. That should be enough. Skill replication activated. After Xia Gaga trembled for a while, a swirling vortex of level 3 winds appeared in Mina's hand. This skill creates a massive 5-second storm, dealing 1530 to 2380 damage per second and reducing the target's agility by 80%. After reading the skill description, the level 190 copyist smirked. Wei Xian. You are a good person. See you next time. The words had barely left her lips. Mina disappeared into the crowd. The next second, she arrived in a dark underground space. For this S-level mission, Mina prepared for a whole 63 days. Execute the traitors of the Red Knights. Quest reward, obtain the title Avenger. This title will unlock the cruelty stat. Attack increases by 100. Gains the skill Murderous Impulse. Mission failed. Demote 2 ranks. Everything is ready. The stone gates slowly opened. Piero has permanently disappeared. He is the strongest knight in the Saharan Empire. He is also the final boss of this task. Countless times from heaven, the battle has officially begun. Taltan launched. The enormous, pitch-black giant. He crawled out from under Mina, charging towards every previous attempt. This is the strongest defense skill for the Guardian Knight class. The copyist. This profession only has 9 core skills, but you can activate the duplication 3 times a day. Mina has saved up enough for 50 of the strongest skills of high-level players. It can only be used once. But kill the knight in front of you. That should be more than enough. As the first wave of attacks dispersed, Piero charged toward Mina. Looking at the sharp tip of the sword, Minori smiled. I'm the first one, she said. The owner of an epic-level job? So what about an S-rank mission? Counter barrier activated. An invisible force bounced Piero back. Before he fell from the sky, frantic maelstrom activates. A blazing storm swept across the entire venue. 5 seconds of continuous damage. Even you must be having a hard time. Just then, a storm erupted, and a piercing light flashed through it. A series of knightly skills flashed continuously. There was a loud bang. The strongest knight suddenly crumbled into pieces of stone, to fall from the sky. No way, no way. I haven't even started yet. Is this it? Is this death? The first epic profession. The copyist. Activate the replication skill 3 times a day. The copying skill can only be used once, but it can be permanently saved before use. I just don't know if the recovery number is impressive. Under the high continuous damage of the raging whirlwind, the strongest knight had crumbled into a pile of rubble. How is this possible? An S-rank mission's buzz can't be this weak. Moreover, Mina did not receive a mission completion notification. She then went up into the air, ready to pull away. Drink a recovery potion first. But just then, a black vortex suddenly appeared in front of him. Tia Luo charged forward and scathed. Extinction skill activated. Taira looked on coldly, wanting to violate the innocent. But Mina was prepared. Nightmare projection activated. Tia Luo was engulfed by the jet of nightmare light. Her eyes gradually lost their sparkle, lost in illusion. Mina also took the opportunity to fall from the sky. This move was copied to counter Buzz's ultimate, although the control time is relatively short. But as long as you can seize the opportunity to restore your blue bar and unleash your damage ultimate, enough to end the fight. At that moment, several system notifications popped up. You have exceeded your skill usage limit. Skills are unavailable for a period of time. All attribute points decreased by 50%. 3 high-level skills in a row drained all of Mina's mana. She lifted her head defiantly. Kai discovered Pialuo's gaze. Clarity has returned. That's so sick. It took less than 2 seconds. Mina couldn't help but embrace Quetsue. Resolutely decided to abandon the mission. Your rank has dropped 2 levels. Amasfi's trustworthiness has declined. The plan that had been in the works for 2 months. It's all gone down the drain. This is the perfect time to get a new title. Mina rubbed her head in frustration. Just then, a small NPC named Gaga came over. Hello, is this Elena? Someone asked me to give you a message. I hope you will accept a task. Mina, thoroughly cowed by Pialuo, lazily glancing at the mission panel. Success rewards 1,500 gold coins. You will be awarded the title of Not Love Plus Victory Teacher. Due to her unique talent for copying, Mina once used the name Elena. He was a blacksmith for a while. Since he didn't finish the S-level mission, a fortune teller title wouldn't be bad either. But at this moment, Grid was still complaining, giving such a good task to a guy he just met. You don't treat me like your own grandson. Khan had no choice but to explain. The entire village was under the Marrow Trading Company's surveillance. You are one of us now. How could we possibly let you go out on an adventure? That task is better suited for an outsider. Seeing Khan's aggrieved expression after being misunderstood, Grid didn't say anything more. The competition would begin after 2000. Let's continue training. At the very least, it shouldn't make you look bad. Control the precise flame. Her typing grew increasingly skillful. Congratulations on crafting an epic piece of gear. This ever-progressing feeling. Grid is totally obsessed with it. He already has a level 75 attribute panel at level 21. The legendary blacksmith has also become a stat monster. But the blacksmith's skills. Blacksmithing skills. However, his proficiency in both skills improved very slowly. Looking at the 130 unallocated attribute points, Grid stroked his chin and thought. If he wanted to win the duel, some attributes need to be assigned to crafts. Physical strength increased by 60. Skill plus 70. As a golden light flashed, Grid seemed empowered by wielding dual guns. Is this the proper way to unlock a legendary blacksmith? Continuously crafting equipment provides attribute bonuses. Although the process was simple. But Grid is the same as Jinyoung. He is a man with 8-pack abs. Tomorrow, I'll show you what the hell a professional blacksmith is. The next morning, Winston's Central Square. This place is already crowded with onlookers. It's not just Winston's NPCs and players who came because of its reputation. On the left is the Khan Blacksmith delegation. The contestant is Gel-eyed. To the right is the Meluo Chamber of Commerce delegation. Contestant Alina. When everyone got a clear look at Alina's face, the Khan delegation disbanded on the spot. Everyone turned into cheerleaders for Alina. But in front of Grid, regardless of whether it's black silk or white silk, nothing beats cold, hard cash. The duel begins now. Level 188 copy Warlock Team Level 21 Spawn of Pagmer. He looked at the task board. Mina had already made up her mind. The moment the other party was crafting the equipment, he will then copy Grid's blacksmithing skills. Using the same technology, the luckier side can craft higher level equipment. So, although he isn't a blacksmith, but there was still considerable resistance. But when he looked up, that guy, Grid, has already started crafting. This guy is surprisingly quick. Mina immediately took out the epic blacksmith's hammer. This equipment requires someone with blacksmithing skills to use. Mina didn't hesitate anymore. Copy skill activated. Her eyes shimmered with a bewitching light. He glared at Grid. But something unexpected happened that surprised Mina. Skill copying failed. My observation skills have reached level 7. Logically, even high-level blacksmithing skills can be copied. Why doesn't it work on this kid? The mission could fail. Mina immediately summoned the Mellow Trading Company's butler. Bring his master in. I don't think he's qualified to fight me one-on-one. Hearing Mina's words, even the housekeeper was surprised. But he still met his request. Master Alina offered to forge a new generation for 1.2, a price not too high for a forging genius. Khan swung her arms as she walked to the stage. A flicker of hesitation crossed his mind, but he had to protect the blacksmith's shop. Khan decided to go for it. They worked together, grandfather and grandson. Mina finally found the chance to make a copy. Successfully copy the advanced level 2 blacksmithing skill. Copy the older brother to beat the younger one. I'm such a genius. Grid never expected this. There's even such an unscrupulous NPC. Mina copied Khan's advanced blacksmithing skills. Yang Shi, a senior blacksmith, started his forging. Amidst the cheers of the entire audience, Mina has finished her workout. But the two people behind her were still in the first stage. Two people working together are slower than one person working alone. Looks like I've got this in the bag. And Grid was completely absorbed in forging. He and Khan worked together very well. Whether it's the rhythm of the hammer, or the control of the temperature, and the forging of raw materials, they are all perfect. Just as I was reaching my fitness goals, legend says the blacksmith's aura has been triggered. This time, we can definitely create a weapon that will shock the world. But the steward in the stands noticed something at that moment. That kid is nothing like Khan's apprentice. It was actually Khan who was helping him. Who is this person? Looking at the minotaur horn on the altar. This thing costs Grid 10 gold coins. It's just waiting to be made into a sword handle, and it will be finished. But Mina had already raised her hand. Less than 3 hours. He crafted a thin, light, and aesthetically pleasing short sword. Now, let's take a look at the works of AI Dashi. The enchanting short sword. Epic. Attack power is from 112 to 127, attack speed is increased by 8%. There's also a chance to charm the enemy. Requirements for use, level 100 and above. Grid was under even more pressure now. Epic equipment can no longer dominate. Then build something more advanced. With a series of crackling sounds on the table, Grid's weapon is also complete. At that very moment, the arena doors suddenly burst open. A squad of soldiers charged toward Gelide. Someone reported that you are in cahoots with Hunui, a terrorist. So you've been arrested. Everyone in Khan was shocked by this turn of events. Hunui was actually caught by them. And these guys were so low that they even interfered with the competition. Damn capitalists. She watched as soldiers took Greta away. The butler, however, looked down because of his height. A delicate short sword materialized on the crafting table. Compared to Mina's, this is the true sword of unparalleled brilliance. The chairman never intended to have a fair match with Khan. Mina won, everything will be fine. If there's any sign of losing, then just arrest the blacksmith. And Mina also discovered this matter. But for her, as long as the client's goal is achieved, it won't affect her reward. At the butler's request, Mina successfully completed the mission. He was awarded the title of Assistant General. Open Fighting Spirit Ability Value. Open Luck Stat. Gaining Intellect. This skill's effect is determined by the number of intellect points. Are you deliberately slandering her? The housekeeper, however, didn't directly respond. You're not actually a blacksmith. Unfamiliar with basic operations. She used advanced blacksmithing. Perhaps she has a similar replication skill. Mina was taken aback. When did NPCs become so smart that they could see through her real moves? Whatever. The Meiluo merchant group is about to perish. I'm looking for new opportunities. Ken's smithy gave me hope. And Nade, called Greed, is the true forging master. His skills combined with my connections can definitely create a new world. So, you're willing to rescue him for me? Mina never thought in her entire life. The first person to recognize him as a replication sorcerer. It was actually an NPC. The butler calmly assessed the current situation. Ignoring Mina's shocked expression, Lima immediately issued an S-level mission, rescue Greed with Rabbit, and defeat the Meru Trading Group and Lord Winston. The reward is 5,000 gold coins. Hina's little blacksmith has only been known for less than 5 hours, and has already received an A-level mission and an S-level mission. This kid is really my lucky baby. And Khan has already gathered everyone in the village. They were ready to defend the village's freedom with their own hands. Suddenly, an arrow shot out. Chairman Minka stood at the door, looking like he was about to fire a barrage of bullets. Garrison Commander, I'll leave these riders to you. Our business group consists of civilized people. Du Fengbian resorted to violence. The dark and dismal prison cell. Hunui had lost track of how many days had passed. He was on the verge of a breakdown. The gaming company is closely monitoring his situation. If we don't force a withdrawal now, it could have irreversible consequences. But the regional manager didn't want to miss such a good publicity opportunity. Trust Grid, he's a miracle worker. Just hold on a little longer, 50 hours to go. There are only 2 hours left. The underground prison. Grid faced Private Gaga's inquiry. But he was not at all intimidated. A bunch of idiots. If you have the guts, kill me. He had already set his respawn point at the Khan blacksmith shop. As long as you die, you can be resurrected. But unexpectedly, Xiao Gaga suddenly covered his mouth. Don't be impulsive. This kid is immortal. We just need to keep him locked up. He will eventually confess everything. He looked back at the little gurgling child who was talking. At this moment, an S-level mission request came from the ministry. The task is to get Hunui out. The condition for completing the task is Hnui mission reward within 7 hours. Gaining the title of Justice Bearer unlocks courage. The new task is actually related to that boy. But he is now also a grounded ball. How can we rescue people in 7 hours of gameplay? And the penalty for failing this mission is too harsh. Even more tragic was, Grid didn't even have the right to refuse. Just as Grid was vexing over this, a familiar voice called out, Gelide. Where are you? Mina's figure flickered outside the cell. Unable to speak, Grid could only bang his head against the door. The clanging sound caught Mina's attention. I've finally found you. I brought you a gift. He took out the short piece crafted by Greed. This girl is so kind. I wrongly blamed her. However, there's a condition. After you go out, you have to make a magic bead for me to store magic. That's magic gear. Even though Grid was not confident. But one must submit to circumstances. He had to nod in agreement. Just as Grid thought he was safe. A large group of soldiers surrounded them. Damn it, this is what you call saving me? I'm about to give you a straight up 6 for that. S-level mission plus personally creating a video. What she got in return, however, was being surrounded by a group of soldiers. Grid just wanted to hit a 6 for Mina. Facing so many enemies, Grid couldn't help but draw the weapon he had made himself. Rank 1. Attack power 242 to 264. Attack speed plus 11%. Has a very low probability of instantly killing enemies. Grants the sharp edge and rapid movement skills. Because you are the creator and have a 100% understanding, you do not meet the usage requirements. Attack decreased by 20%. Attribute bonus reduced by 50%. Looking at the light emanating from the short sword, Mina was startled. How did you do that? He could master weapons instantly. Grid did not answer. He gave Mina a meaningful look. She didn't keep the weapons for herself, which suggested she wasn't a bad person. But before she could figure out how to get on the bus, Xiao Gaga's attack has arrived. Watching the approaching soldiers, there was a crackling sound on the short sword. Equipment skills. Foam ring activated. Sharp sword chi burst forth. There was simply no room to dodge in this narrow passage. Sleeping alone in the machine, she eliminated dozens of ordinary soldiers. Mina couldn't help but clap her hands. This is so unreliable. Are you here to be a cheerleader? Watching more and more soldiers. Hejian's 1.5 hour mission time. Grid couldn't help but ask for help. But Mina was unmoved. My skills are all one-time use. Are you asking me to work overtime? You need to pay more. Seeing the other party rise from humble beginnings, Gretchen couldn't help but make a sarcastic remark. A 5-foot-tall person with the appetite of a 400-pounder. And not in a good mood. Eliminate the wool spray that shoots out. It flew out, brushing against Grid's cheek. Black energy seemed to stand still. It landed directly on the pile of soldiers. A raging explosion ripped through the dungeon. The might of a single skill eliminated several squad leaders. A massive chasm ran down the middle of the hallway. This guy unexpectedly used an instant skill. Grid's worldview almost crumbled. He silently recited, "Only meet good," 3 times. He just resisted Lori's spirit. This is another warning to you. Don't talk about my height. Perhaps next time, my skills might be more accurate. They searched the entire 3rd floor, but they couldn't find Huloi. There was 1 hour and 10 minutes left before the mission ended. Perhaps he is hidden on the 4th underground floor. But before the two could continue, the sound of pursuers was already coming from behind. Let's hurry, or we won't finish the task. At that very moment, Mina found a strange flower. In the lightless dungeon. How could there be such beautiful flowers? Suddenly, an axe fell from the sky. It was Mina who almost made Grid go their separate ways. He confirmed that he had picked the flower. This place is full of traps. Listen to me. Don't move. The huge rock suddenly fell down. The reason was Mina behind him. She ate the banana she picked up from the crack in the rock. Carrying this trap trigger, Grid almost stepped on all the traps. The enemy was right behind him. He immediately jumped down into the pit. With great power comes great responsibility. I'll leave them to you. I'll scout ahead. A mind as resolute as Grid's. She was also messed up by the 1.5-meter tall Luoli. But this guy is a total trap trigger. He would only die faster. Ignoring Mina's protests, Gelide proceeded. He walked quickly towards the depths of the dungeon. Frost Queen unleashed her icy breath. The entire tunnel was covered in icy coldness. This place is too small. Unable to use fire magic. Otherwise, I'll turn them all into high-tech Peking ducks. Besides fire element. You have 11 copies left. But among so many guards, Mina did not see the 5 strongest Winston Knights. Hopefully, Grid can successfully rescue Hunui. At that very moment, Xiao Gaga surprisingly wanted to split their forces. Send someone to chase after Grid. Another high-level skill blasts forth. You take the money. He has reached his limit. This shout also caught the attention of Grid. Just as he followed the sound, she met Winston Knight around the corner. This guy is one of the 5 strongest soldiers. Even the lowest of the 5 greats are at least level 180. This is simply beyond the current Grid's capabilities. But he didn't give him a chance to speak. The knight charged. The blacksmith's fury ignites. He quickly moved and launched the sword from his shoe. Gelide had no choice. The next second, the long sword has arrived in front of Grid. This speed far exceeded his expectations. It's too fast. Grid only had time to parry with his sword. He was knocked out cold. Without swift movement bonus, he might have already gone offline to order takeout. A mere blacksmith, you dare to block my attack? Who do you think you are insulting? The flame sword explodes violently. Intense energy swept over Grid. Ning took 17,300 damage. Too strong. Grai drank the life potion in large gulps. He was just thinking about how to use these 5 seconds. The knight opposite suddenly stopped, waiting for the flames to die down. I just realized that the guy was roasted by his own flames. Mina wasn't lying. The B's space really couldn't use open flames. No wonder this kid's flames deal so much damage. It turns out it was a dumpling explosion. You defeated Winston Knight. Earn the title of Knight Assassin. To get the prison key, a series of upgrade prompts popped up. This boosted Grid's level from 21 to 45. He's so generous even when he's surprised. With a click, the prison door opened. Grid looked down at the dejected little Gaga. He couldn't help but smile. Even though you've caused me a lot of trouble, kid. But for the reward's sake, I'll forgive you. In Hului's eyes, Grid was her savior, practically her reborn parents. Dad for short. Congratulations on obtaining your second profession, partner of the righteous Anvo. Open courage ability value. Grid also received the task completion prompt. Congratulations on earning the title of Justice Bringer. You have unlocked the courage stat and reached maximum affinity with the residents of Winston. Mr. Grid, you are my lifesaver. Huloi will give you my heart. Looking at Xiao Gaga's serious expression, Grid was puzzled. He's still here playing the giant joke with me? Have you taken care of the enemy on the other side of the mountain? How strong can a replication sorcerer be? It can be said that he just needs time. Even a god couldn't do it. Gotta save a leg to get back. Mina, with her 11 copied high-level skills. One person alone took out 500 Gagas. But his copying skills are gone. From this moment on, he is the weakest class with only 9 support skills. Seeing several elite warriors gathered before her, Mina was about to give up. When will that Grid fellow return? Or rather, he saved Huloi. Just as the light guards were about to join forces, would he return? Mina had to go all in. There are 3 fire magic spells left. In this confined space, using it means mutual destruction. Suddenly, Xiao Gaga charged forward. The long sword swung fiercely. Mina ducked just in time to avoid it. But he didn't give him a chance to react. Another little Gaga has already come up. Exponential inherent ability. The frail shield offered no defense against the high-ranking warrior. Mina was slammed hard against the wall. It was just a bluff. He killed so many people. You die by my sword without grievance. Just as the long sword was about to fall, Mina suddenly became fierce. He lunged toward the long sword. It was the leader who started it. He wanted to gamble. Bet on yourself to get a stat boost. At that very moment, a man's voice interrupted them. 4 burly men were beating up a young girl. Do you even have any shame? Seeing Grid and Hallui, Mina finally relaxed. The little rascals were utterly astonished. Since he's here, it means Leo is dead. But why does a blacksmith have such powerful aura? Watching Grid single-handedly intimidate the entire audience, Mina was also stunned. NPCs only engage with players who are 30 or more levels higher than them. Fear only arises then. Who is this man and what is his true level? And Hului's admiration for Grid deepened. Truly a man worthy of her heart. To strike while the iron is hot. Grid chuckled and kept moving forward. Several elite knights were forced to retreat, seeing the stair entrance just behind. What the hell? I'm just a blacksmith. Not good at fighting. This kind of rough work definitely still needs you to do it. Just as the two were talking, the knight, forced to fight with nothing left to lose, charged. Chanjian suddenly appeared before Greed. Damn, that was too fast. Did I overdo it? A jarring clang of metal rang out in front of him. It was Hunoi who stepped up at the crucial moment. Blocked the knight's attack. There was a loud clang. Common grounding. The knight trembled from the shock. And at this moment, Hunoi shone with golden light. He is like an invincible god of war. Don't worry, boss. I'm fine. Resilience and unity. Grants immunity to all attacks for 10 seconds, once only. Cooldown. 2 hours and 30 minutes. This is the most pretentious man I've ever met. He simply bluffed his way through it. They forced the 4 high-ranking knights to retreat continuously. If it hadn't been for Hunoi stepping up, this kid might have to order takeout. I'll hold them off. You guys go first. Hunoi roared. The venomous snake's skill activates. The insults, comparable to the scolding of an old man, shot out of Hunoi's mouth. The cursed target will have all attributes reduced. Hunoi clenched his fist. Unwavering justice. This skill delivers 300% physical attack area damage. The piercing light from his fist knelt down. A loud explosion erupted among the 4 knights. The attack was so powerful, but it didn't even break Xiao Gaga's armor. Bears are not actually known for being good fighters. Hunoi weakly crouched down. My mission is complete. I can log out anytime. As long as we can ensure Lord Greed's safe escape, nothing else matters. The light is right in front of us. Grid and Mina finally walked out of prison. But it's not time to relax yet. If the prison knights and the Lord's guards join forces, they still face the risk of being taken back. Speak of the devil. Following Grid's finger. It was truly the Lord and his light guard at the door. You bastards dare to cause trouble in my territory? If they run out and tell everyone, my title will be lost. There was no chance for Grid to argue. The Lord swept his hand. Execute the light infantry without mercy. Mina, it's all on you now. It's pretty empty here, so you can do your best without any distractions. Still acting weak at a time like this? Unable to replicate the shining light. The Demon King's tail flame ignites. Black flames surge toward the Qingwei army like a colossal dragon. The intense explosion engulfed all the enemies. Even the Lord was thrown to the ground. When the flames subside, all light guards have perished. No one survived. Explosive high-level fire magic. I fear it is not as good as this. Okay, Lord. Because I was used by someone. I'm really unhappy right now. Do you want to take us out? Let me beat you up before taking us out. The door slowly opened. The Lord trailed behind Mina and Grid, his shoulders slumped in defeat. To their surprise, the housekeeper was waiting at the door with the merchants from the Mellow Trading Group. Is the task not over yet? Or maybe Mina has another task at the Mellow Trading Company. But why did he save her? Was it just to personally deliver me to the Mellow Trading Company? In just those few seconds, countless thoughts raced through Grid's mind. They have more than a dozen combat members. He is only 5 years old. He has no armor. Then, just add the 240 attribute points. Power increased by 150. Physical strength increased by 90. Grid was prepared to fight to the death. Nothing can make this woman both the motivator and the inspired. Mom was right. You can't trust beautiful women. At this moment, Grid didn't know. Based on his current attributes, plus the unique grade weapon he held in his hand, his true combat strength may have already surpassed that of a level 100 player. But ever since he started playing the new class, he wasn't a top-ranked player. This refers to the first generation of epic players. This experience made him think he was. He simply couldn't get it up. This man is so miserable. Although the level is only 42, yet possesses the battle prowess of level 100. But holy crap. The players encountered were all well over level 200. A glance across the way. He almost figured out how to smash the monitor. But before she could go for broke, the bound lord ran out first. The housekeeper and that woman, what are they blabbering about? Hurry up and get me out of here. I'm sorry, Lord, I've already resigned. Moreover, I will inform the Count of your crimes and he will judge you. Seeing the Lord's face filled with rage, the butler chuckled. I'm a businessman. Of course, they'll choose the side that offers the greatest benefit. Mr. Grid, with your production capabilities and my team's support, we can create a whole new mid-sized business group. So that's it. Grid's worries finally subsided. That's all for now. I have more important matters to attend to with Ms. Mina. We'll discuss the detailed plan when we get back. The plot twist caught Grid off guard. He could only stand there, frozen in place. Still, don't forget the video orb compendium you promised me. When I find the materials and blueprints, he will send you a private message. Then we'll see each other again later. Watching Mina and the housekeeper depart, Grid finally smiled with satisfaction. Ultimate Business Group. This is a business that can support a small studio. Damn it, I finally became a capitalist. On the other hand, Mina told the butler what happened in the dungeon. That man is incredibly strong. Not only did a team defeat the Lord's Knights, but he also did it all by himself. The 4 awestruck horsemen dared not move. The butler's face showed a look of shock. A blacksmith can still have strong fighting ability. Only Pagma could do this in history. Could that man be a descendant of Pagma? This is even more interesting. I also have the chance to work with the descendants of Pagma. But what Rabbit didn't expect was, Stalin not only executed the 2 main culprits, she sentenced herself to 10 years in prison. Although he escaped death, Rabbit was extremely annoyed. He could no longer fulfill his promise to Grid. The tyranny is over. Peace returned once more to Winston Village. The story of Grid and Mina is also told in Winston Village. Not only that, Ailing, who had a chance encounter with Grid in the past, he became the new Lord of Winston, because her real identity is the biological daughter of Earl Sterling. At the same time, the opening of a second job has attracted widespread media attention. A game with 2 billion players worldwide. Any major action will cause all players to vibrate. The benefits of a second job are not limited to skills and weapons. Each level up gives you double the base attribute growth compared to others. Grid watched TV boredly. My heart was filled with curses. wondering who the heck became the first dual profession player. Damn it! This provides a more friendly way to make money. Gelide solemnly declared that he would never do temporary work again. However, this decision was met with opposition from the entire family. When will you pay off your debts if you keep playing video games? Do you really want to sponge off your parents forever? Grid, unable to resist, silently accepted the temporary job arrangement. On the way home from work, after a busy day, Master Gu thought of Khan and the housekeeper. With the help of these two NPCs, making money is a piece of cake. As long as I can put up real money, even my own parents can't stop me from playing games. This is a story about helping someone overcome internet addiction. Grid, the old donkey, was already prepared to die in the game. But damn, he didn't have a donkey to pull the ink. Inside the blacksmith's shop. As soon as Gelide came online, he rushed here. Is Rabbit there? When will we start what we talked about yesterday? When heard these words, Carr immediately dropped a letter on the ground. This was written by Rabbit, who is in prison. Dear Mr. Grid, our plan cannot be realized because of my mistake at the Marrow Trading Group. I wish you will become famous in this continent soon. He learned that the other person would be in prison for 10 years. Grid was so angry that he almost quit the game right there. Finally encountering Bull. He actually locked me up. Seeing Grid's grief, Khan offered comforting words with a smile. I'm getting old. After that, he didn't have the energy to keep managing the blacksmith shop. So I want to give you the blacksmith shop to inherit. This stunned Grid. I have never heard of a player inheriting an NPC's business. Well, if you could write me a transfer agreement, I might be able to agree to that. As both parties agreed on the transfer contract, a system notification actually popped up. You have become the heir to the blacksmith shop. I can't believe it. The base card is still struggling to find its way in the auction list. He needs to find the blacksmith who forged the alphas. But since the 99 swordsmen were sold out, the blacksmith seemed to have stopped using the loom. There's no trace of the mysterious blacksmith on the leaderboard. The union chat has started. Jichu Card yelled at her subordinates. By the end of this month, if the blacksmith hasn't been found yet, you're all going to get a devil's training from me. At that very moment, Bender, fashionably late, has arrived. I saw something interesting online. Winston Village held a blacksmithing competition. And one of them, he crafted a legendary item within 3 hours. This efficiency surpasses even the top-ranked Pamir. He is very likely the person we're looking for. Now the basic cards are all here. Everyone gather at Winston. Whoever arrives last drinks my foot-washing water. At the same time, the level 200 advanced leveling dungeon. There were baby ducks all over the ground. You have eliminated the Forerunner. You gain 617,000 EXP. The special profession of a blood warrior. He can absorb the blood essence of monsters and use it for himself. This was Gani's only choice. Katz is now level 216. Overall ranking 40th. With ample passenger resources and a steady stream of manpower, Katz went above and beyond. But why is first place still so far away? Why is the equipment you made so bad? I am rich. I can't spend it either. Having money but unable to spend it. What is it like? Topping up my account just isn't satisfying. The bitterness of being a whale. Don't you understand? 1 month later. The capital of the Earl of Stirling's territory. Mina was also caught in the same predicament. It's impossible to find it at the auction house. Suitable orb recipe. Even with money, it's impossible to buy high-level equipment. I earned 6,500 gold coins doing tasks a while back, and I haven't spent a single penny to this day. Who is following me? Come out now. Don't make me do it myself. Look closely. A transparent figure is hiding behind the stone pillar. The person who arrived is Flash from the Justice League. He is also the #1 assassin on the list. After receiving the notice from the chairman, the Justice League members have all assembled at Earl Stirling's territory, the Vanguard. Their mission was to keep an eye on the legendary blacksmith named Elena. But how could a blacksmith see through her 7th-level invisibility spell? Xiao Gaga didn't have time to think further. Mina has raised her hand. Do you really think I'm a pushover? The glow of the subtitles momentarily enveloped the space ahead. The entire second floor was engulfed in flames. The passengers rushed off the plane. Before he could explain, Mina unleashed her ultimate move again. The Angel Sad Spirit is activated. This is a high-level skill for magicians. Immense power isn't something a frail assassin possesses. This is a very strange and concerning sentence. It is not possible to translate it accurately or naturally into English without more context. It appears to be a nonsensical string of words. He was seriously injured. It wasn't until this moment that Xiao Gaga realized something was wrong. He might not be the blacksmith the guild leader is looking for. This could even be a trap. The legendary Jia sword is just bait. A fishing expedition to take down their Justice League. The brain-filling finished, Zyagaga roared at Mina in anger. Who sent you? Which union are you from? This problem confused Mina. Today, I must have been hallucinating. Drop dead, all of you. Lei Ting Pai activates. Blazing lightning fiercely charged. But the next second, Feek's figure gradually disappeared. The moment moved. Feika blinked and appeared behind Mina. He kicked hard. Mina was beaten back relentlessly. This was the first time Mina had ever encountered such a strong player. Multiple clones activate. Dozens of flying guests crashed from midair. All the schemes and tricks. In the face of overwhelming power. They are all local chickens and dogs. But Mina paid no attention. Golden light began to coalesce. Group fights are his specialty. She lost all her avatars. The prodigal son can only return to where he came from. Before he could unleash his next skill, Mina has summoned the enormous Queen Knight. This is outrageous. A blacksmith knows mage skills? He can even use his ultimate move. The howling wind entered his ears. Queen Knight has launched an attack. The flyer quickly ran back. This attack range was too large. Even relying on stealth skills, getting close isn't necessarily possible. Damn it, this girl couldn't have bloomed already, could she? Facing a player who can use all his professional skills. How can a frequent flyer win? He dodged the attack of the Queen's Knight. He seized the opportunity to fling 3 darts. Jinji thrusts at Mina. This kind of haircut. The mage's skills were too late. Let's see how you handle this. Who abandons a second? Mina was also divided into 5. Perfectly dodged the dart attack. This scene left the passengers speechless. Not hiding anything, not afraid of being banned for cursing. At this moment, Mina exuded a confident smile. A month's time allowed her to accumulate dozens of high-level skills again. Now she can speak. It is invincible. Clang! Queen Knight throws another punch. Just then, the gaggle of children gathered around. Let's go together. You're no match for him. But no matter how many people come, they couldn't get close to the summoner, Mina. The Earth Dragon's claws are unleashed. To the shock of all the little ducks, countless giant fireballs surged towards them. With the Queen's Knight's cooperation, 4 high-ranking assassins all fell to the ground. That's outrageous. Edith was surprisingly still at ease. Who is this woman? Feek hadn't even gotten up. Another fireball fell from the sky. It crashed down on her with a violent explosion. The figure of the flying guest vanished completely. After the battle ends, the Justice League had just arrived on the scene. Looking at the uneven ground, even Jishuka froze in place. Who is she? What is her purpose? Jishuka clenched his fist with determination. Find her and the forces behind her immediately. I will make her know. What is the Justice League? Khan Blacksmith's shop. Grid wielded the iron hammer tirelessly. After a month of testing, she discovered that there are 2 conditions for manufacturing advanced equipment. The first and most fundamental step is using high-quality manufacturing materials. Next is the blacksmith's own attributes. Besides dexterity, physical strength and power are also very important. It has the support of 8 poles. Grid has upgraded her professional skill to level 2. Now, when she crafts rare equipment, she receives a 2-point bonus to all attributes. Crafting epic equipment grants a 4-point bonus to all attributes, while unique equipment grants a 12-point bonus. The average manufacturing time for each piece of equipment is 6 hours. She has already crafted 73 pieces of equipment, but only 3 are epic. This kind of success has nothing to do with legendary blacksmiths. Looking at the new equipment charts in the gear catalog, Grid suddenly thought of the woman named Mina. Why hasn't that guy come looking for me yet? It's just a waste of 6 hours. You can obtain the formula and materials for crafting a unique grade treasure orb. This is a good deal. But when he thought about his shipment, Grid broke out in a cold sweat. If I manage to craft a common piece of equipment, will she eat herself on the spot? Suddenly, 2 small children burst through the door. He immediately asked about Mina. This arrogant attitude really annoyed Greed. No one can try to act cool in front of Lousy. Who are you all? Just as the 2 were about to clash, another little gaga stood out. Don't be too nervous. The flyer incident wasn't their doing. Can you tell me about that Elena news? Khan didn't hide anything from them. He told them everything he knew, right after the 2 of them left. Grid once again ushered in a personal. Having blacksmiths helping each other is a much better storefront than sending things to auction houses or setting up individual stalls. It won't be long before I'm rich. The premise is that the dog plans to do something personal. Could you please increase the drop rate for me? 7,600 yuan a month. Do you guys want to do this kind of moving job? Crafting 73 pieces of equipment yielded only 3 epic items. The ridiculously low critical hit rate made Greed explode. He immediately sent an email to the game company. The text above, tens of thousands of characters long, is entirely a complaint about the inhumanity of game designers. But the customer service representatives were also helpless. There was no problem with the game data. After the Blacksmith skill upgrade, the drop rate is indeed higher than before. But some people are just incredibly unlucky. Looking at the net profit of 7,600 yuan earned in a month, Grid couldn't help but sigh. Even temporary space-time administrators earn more than this. How does he negotiate with his parents? But if you want to exchange money, take the few short swords he made. It just needs to be sold. Grid felt a little reluctant. It simply flew into his face. High-end esports room. It's also 30% off. Isn't this exactly the place where Greg needs to be? He spent the day at the internet cafe. I went home in the evening. He was so excited that he couldn't help but think about it. Jelite moved at a speed of 300 meters per second. Head to the esports hotel. This will be the place where he makes his mark. Meanwhile, the Khan Blacksmith shop bustled with activity. After this period of operation, more and more players are experiencing the benefits. The equipment stats here are higher than elsewhere. Although it's a bit more expensive, the price-performance ratio is still unmatched by auctions. And Khan was also very helpless. He turned around and looked inside the house. Greed in short sleeves. He was swinging his hammer with great enthusiasm. However, his output alone is far from meeting the market demand, since it's impossible to meet the needs of the low-end market. Grid turned his attention to the high-end. With the addition of internet cafes, Grid's daily time limit has reached 15 hours. This way he can focus on creating better equipment. The final component is finished. Grid nervously climbed on. Defense 303. Movement speed reduced by 6%. Low chance to completely block piercing attacks. See the equipment attributes. Grid almost went crazy. Damn it, ever since I crafted that unique grade fishing rod, Grid never crafted high-rank equipment again. The monkey's luck is better than his. Seeing his dejected expression, Kane quickly offered comfort. This thing could fetch a good price at an auction house, more than enough to cover the cost. Until now, Gulai just complained. With the Blacksmith's aura and skill bonus, all equipment stats are increased by 20%. There are also special entries. Although it's not the best. Level 180 knights have enough stamina. Thinking of this, Grid smiled again. Anyway, the auction house doesn't charge any commission. That's settled then. 2 days later, Grid held Khan's heir's insignia. She embarked on the path to Winston Auction House. This is a paradise for knights and blacksmiths. Not only is there a knights exclusive auction, the benefits are comparable to those of civil servants. The premise is that the game cannot fail. He spent the day playing at an internet cafe, playing at home in the evening. This is the professionalism of a professional mover. Arriving at the auction house entrance, Grid submitted as requested. Epic heavy armor and epic iron gauntlets. But she made a pricing mistake. He's completely out of touch with the market. At that very moment, a blacksmith named Xiao Gaga arrived at the border. Is this your first time attending an auction? Is there anything I can help you with? The words had barely left her lips. Xiagaga shared her task. This is a guided task prepared for newcomers to the auction. Put master's equipment up for auction. Little Gaga adoringly presented her master's weapon, a rare common item at level 190. Just because it's a rare item, it's so arrogant. Even an epic item I think is trash. Hearing this, Xiagaga looked at Grid with even greater admiration. Can I see your screenshot? But Grid had no interest in Shota. Quickly tell me the base price for level 120 mid-grade armor. The little boy, Xie, took a deep breath and said slowly. The normal level is generally 300 gold coins. Epic. Even the worst attributes. The gloves are also worth 600. Armor costs at least 1,800, which translates to 17,000 yuan in cash. Excluding material costs and internet fees, she still has a net income of 12,000. Grid's smile gradually became perverted. At this rate. Soon. Now I can finally pay off my foreign debt. Just as the auction was coming to an end, Grid finally submitted the auction information. Knights, attention. A new piece of equipment has just been listed. I don't know how long it's been. Grid awoke from sleep. The auction has ended. A total of 110 pieces of equipment are participating in this auction. Only 6 pieces were finally delivered. Coral's necklace. 453 gold coins. Sten's long sword. 1,900 gold coins. That's the last one. The staff paused for a moment. Lord Grid, the administrator wants to meet with you alone. Follow me, please. It's kind of weird. But Grid still followed the auctioneer. Entered the room. At such a young age, she possesses remarkable crafting skills. You are the Khan Blacksmith shop. the newly emerged blacksmith bar. Speaking of which, he glanced at Greed, who was drinking coffee. Then she calmly revealed her price. I'm offering 5,500 gold coins for your equipment. Also, I want to purchase more. Equip every soldier with the armor you forged. Upon hearing these words, Grid's composure crumbled. He stood there, frozen, the coffee still warm in his mouth. Tears also flowed down the corner of his mouth unconsciously. 5,500 gold coins, which is equivalent to 40,000 yuan in cash. It takes a covered bell worker 73 days to earn this much money. What the heck is this equipment? This is Lousy's life. However, Grid regained his composure. If he accepts the magistrate's task, he will have to spend all his time making armor. And the armor manufacturing process is the most complicated. Grid chuckled, explaining his predicament. You know, Blacksmith Butai is just too busy. Before Ingrid could finish, the official waved his hand. Pay 10% more for each piece of equipment, as long as the quality is no worse than today's. We all have to. Grid ultimately couldn't resist the temptation. He took on an A-level chain quest to craft 3 common epic weapons within a week. It's no wonder he risked his life. A monthly salary of 12,000 yuan became a daily salary of 40,000 yuan. You make you shiver too. The probability of getting 2 epic items from 3 pieces of equipment. Grid is certain. Pay off all loans within a month. Embracing a brand new life. Create success. To get a regular, common one. Although this common sword can be worth 800 gold coins. But the material cost alone is 950. He lost 59 yuan inside and out. Create success. Obtain ordinary and common. Grid almost knelt down to the game operator. Are you messing with me? Believe it or not, I will report you to the 315 Consumer Rights Day hotline. He swung the hammer again. He got a rare common. Instantly, the food in Grid's mouth no longer tasted good. He stopped looking forward to his new life. Forge success. Obtain a common grade regular one. This time, Grid went completely insane. The payout is 150 each time. Even the landlord would cry if he came. After a full week, Grid finally possessed 2 epic weapons. 1 rare grade and 3 common grade. He just needs 1 more item to submit the task. Grid hammered even harder. At that moment, he felt as if he had returned. The fear of being dominated by the abyss. After 105 hours, there were no shipments. You have to do it this way too. Meanwhile, to destroy the Asia-Pacific Temple, Count Winston organized several sieges. Although the frontal battlefield was quite optimistic. However, the northern front was deadlocked. At that very moment, the woman appeared. Blood Red Witch Eula. She is a player in the mystical realm of Asia-Pacific. To complete the SS-level mission, Eula is fully prepared. After experiencing the oppression of epic-level players, Eula became more obsessed with becoming stronger. She wants to be the god of this game, the #1 player among 2 billion. As Eula entered the battlefield, Earl Winston's army suffered a devastating blow. In Winston City, hearing the casualty report from her subordinates, Ai Lingqi gritted her teeth. Ever since Mida's sacrifice, Winston's side is severely lacking in top-tier combat power. Ailing slammed her hand on the throne. Army reorganization. Give me your full attack. At this moment, Grid had long lost the glory of his legend and his blacksmithing. What are the odds? That doesn't apply to me. Numbly, she completed the final step with the iron coin. If she fails again, she won't have money to buy materials. She could only give up her civil servant status, choosing to lie down again. As the blade meets the scabbard, the subtitles illuminated the entire room. Fortune favors the bold at the 11th hour. A blinding purple lightning bolt struck with a deafening roar. Grid gripped his longsword with all his might. What happened? Even the legendary gear that was crafted back then didn't make this much noise. Wait for the lightning to strike the bottleneck. A gleaming golden sword appeared before Grid. The longsword trapped in the state of looking at me. Attack power 356, attack speed plus 6%, accuracy plus 10%. Each attack will inflict 200 levels of damage to the opponent. Acquire the skill. Wangwu Jing. Level. Legendary. Congratulations on crafting a legendary item. Permanent attribute increased by 25, reputation increased by 1000. Obtaining the title, the only legendary equipment forger. These tips dazzled Grid, and Kaan fainted from excitement. But until this moment, there was still one question in Greta's heart. Wealth and food lead to fame and recognition. Meanwhile, Winston's second attack on the Asia-Pacific Temple. Still a failure. With the 7 great powers, Winston's high-end combat power had no room for resistance. Just as Eileen was worried. But she found Grid, who was fishing for turtles in the wishing pond. This phrase is nonsensical in Chinese. It does not have any meaning and cannot be translated into English. Master Ge, who earns tens of thousands of dollars a day. He still holds fast to the good stars. At that very moment, the door opened. The magistrate reported Greed's forging feats. I think he is the key to our victory against the Asia-Pacific Temple. You should meet him. Inside the first palace, Grid looked helplessly at the lord on the throne. He even knelt down to the NPC. Not giving out extra rewards means the devs are inhuman. The magistrate opened the wooden box. A long sword, radiating an aura of immense power, appeared before the crowd. This is the legendary weapon's might. Absolutely terrifying. Everyone knows how much you plan to spend. We agreed last time, the higher the equipment quality, the better. The higher the price. Despite Grid's haggling, Irene's gaze lingered on the longsword. Count Finus, if you come to use this longsword, can you beat the 7 great masters? Xiao Gaga nodded seriously. In that case, Eileen stood up. Slowly walking towards Grid, she said, "We'll take this sword. Please take care of me, Master Greed." He looked at the fair hand reaching towards him. Grid was startled for a moment. He quickly leaned in and kissed her. Damn it. Looks like I need to reward myself again tonight. Back to the auction house. Secretary Grid of the executive department spoke. He was offered a price he couldn't refuse. 220,000 gold coins. When this number came out, Grid once again acted as a substitute on the spot. 220,000. This is not freaking $22. Grid's head buzzed uncontrollably. He felt like he had lost his soul. I didn't catch what the magistrate said next. He began to slam his head against the wall. 220,000 discounted to cash is 1,560,000. After paying off the debt, I can still afford a down payment in a first-tier city. Lousy has had 26 years of bad luck. Is this the moment we've been waiting for? Grid turned sharply. It's a deal. Deal. The magistrate produced a box. This is an extra gift for you. 3 blue Oriharcon ports, the initial failed products. The materials used are this thing. This is a good thing. Let Gretel continue to have fun. A notification popped up indicating the task was complete. 3 long swords sell for 234,000. In Winston territory, you will be tax exempt. Lady Luck has arrived. There's no stopping it. Grid was filled with excitement. Logged out of the game. The first legendary item has appeared. This will attract the attention of a large number of players. Maybe someday I'll give this away. Fried to over 10 million. And he has the technology to build it himself. It will be a hit with 2 billion players. From that day forward, there was no longer a net-carrying, kind-hearted Grid. Some will be born with a fortune of billions. Legendary blacksmith. But when she got home, Grid found out. It's not over after 26 years of bad luck. Instead, it continued in a different way. Because his father acted as a guarantor for someone else's debt. The guarantee amount is a whopping 4.8 million. The money he earned today is just a small fraction. It's truly fickle fate. Big Chong embraces Little Chong. Jelai just earned 1.56 million. He thought he was already living a good life. The freedom to wash your feet. I just realized it when I got home. My old man is saddled with a massive debt of 4.8 million. Just as the family fell into despair, Grid stepped forward. Don't worry, I will pay it back. All these years, I haven't done anything for my family. Right now, this is my eldest son's foolishness. The moment of awakening. Inside the Lord's castle. Irene bestowed the sword of my gaze upon me. Count Finus. The third assault on the Yatin Temple. Let's get started. This campaign is different. 12 knights will lead it. A force of 1,500 elite soldiers. Earl Finus personally led the team. The goal is to seize the Yatin Temple. Yue Pingdi. As one of its ambassadors. Euler was actually reluctant to associate with these evil people. But to complete the SS chain mission, she had to give it her all. Seeing the fully armed troops, Eula just arrived. It began to gather dark magic. As the dark orb continued to expand, the whole world seemed to be shrouded in darkness. The accumulation of power is over. Dark storm unleashed. A light, so dark it appeared white, soared into the sky. This single strike could wipe out a quarter of the small Gagas. The next second, something happened that astonished Eula. Phineas charged forward, facing the storm head-on. Eula could only manage to activate the diamond barrier. The dazzling long sword descended. The sound of clattering and banging was constant. Hope I know the situation and take action. A tremendous cracking sound reverberated throughout the entire venue. Eula's strongest defense skill didn't even last 0.5 seconds. This is impossible. Watching the approaching sword, Gao Wan Eula unleashed his skill again. Abyss arrival. The skill can frighten a single target. This is the last resort. The warhorse neighed restlessly. However, Count Phineas was completely unaffected. What Euler didn't know was, Manhwa Sejin can double her attributes in 2 minutes and resist all abnormal statuses. Looking at the subtitled long sword, Eula felt helpless. The last time I felt this way. Once again, Eula looked on with displeasure. The sword wind blew straight ahead. One hit brought Eula down to the brink of death. Is it truly destined to fall into darkness? Faith value to the Asia-Pacific Shrine 17 days ago. The moment it reached 10,000. Eula has acquired a new skill. Darkening activates. Absolute darkness dominated her radiant face. An unsettling air hung over everyone. It surged out from Eula's body. Looking at Grid's bank card balance, the whole family was shocked. You wouldn't have sold your kidney, would you? Or give me your liver? And at that moment, Greta was extremely angry. Although Winston was exempted from paying taxes, there were still fees for withdrawals. However, he charged her 79,200 yuan in fees. The game company is practically robbing us. After a friendly discussion with my family, Gelide finally gained his parents' support. Even if I were to make all this money, the remaining 3 million yuan is not something the parents of ordinary employees can afford. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I swear on my 8 livers. All the legendary blacksmiths have been gone within a month. No one could have imagined. Forcing parents to play a tiger-like game. It can change a family's destiny. Grid, back in the game, was full of energy. He only has 20,000 yuan left for gaming, the rest was used to pay off his debts. This money must be spent wisely. Crafting high-level equipment carries the risk of financial loss. Just as he was about to put all the money, they are all used to craft 140-level gear. But he heard a chuckle from the little Gaga next to him. The Asia-Pacific Divine Temple Crusade was defeated again. Count Finus, a wild beast, was severely injured. The 7 great attendants are indeed incredibly powerful. Hearing these words, Grid opened his status panel. To be honest, although the level is only 45, these stats are definitely a bug-level existence in the game. With the right equipment, even a level 100 Buzz Grid can put up a fight. But thinking back to those years of grinding, Grid once again gave up the idea of leveling up. Back to the smithy. Grid continued swinging his familiar blacksmith's hammer. Seeing this scene, Ka couldn't help but cover his forehead. For a blacksmith, the forging hammer is his second life. And the blacksmith's hammer that Grid used. He was holding the new blacksmith's hammer that Khan had given him. Grid shuddered instantly. Damn it. Why didn't you bring this out sooner? You're treating me like I'm not your precious grandson. Hearing these words, Kane scratched his face sheepishly. Today is my son's death anniversary. Can you go to the cemetery with me? Looking at the imposing tombstone, a hint of sadness crossed Grid's face. Obsessed with video games, he had no friends in real life. Kane was the first NPC to acknowledge him. Looking at his son's tombstone, unable to resist, Ka-en reached out and gently stroked it. His son passed away from illness 10 years ago. The elderly man had to bury his own child. For the past 10 years, Kane has only been able to numb himself with alcohol. Listen to Khan talk about these recent events. Grid couldn't hide the sadness in her eyes. Damn, an NPC can be so sentimental. This game is so damn realistic. Don't worry. Your dad is my dad. I will take care of him from now on. The words had barely left her lips. A blinding light suddenly emanated from the tombstone. Your relationship with Khan has been further strengthened. All the tombstones resonated at this moment. To thank you for your kindness to Khan, his ancestral spirit has appeared. Looking at dozens of transparent human bodies. The slip up under the grid. Quick game. I don't want to play anymore. Lousy rushed Lian Cave. Esteemed descendants of Pagma. To express our gratitude for your assistance to our descendants. Please go to the cliff behind Shishan Gorge. Where is the painting of the sword dance of Pagma? At that very moment, the system notification popped up again. Task update, job change, quest location update. Please go to Shishan Gorge, which is west of Winston South. Find clues related to Pagma. It has been so long that Grid almost forgot about himself. You haven't finished the job transfer quest. That painting will help you inherit Jianwu. I hope you can become something beyond the Pagma. Among countless transparent souls, a young man suddenly appeared. I'll leave it to you to take care of my father. After seeing Grid nod solemnly, the young soul slowly faded into the air. A gentle breeze blew past, waking the slumbering Khan from his sleep. He noticed a movement behind him. Grid turned his head and gave a slight smile. Khan, I'll take care of you in your old age and send you back to China. Grid was beaming with sunshine at this moment. There was no fear of seeing a ghost. Of course. The premise is that he has to ignore the wet, hot crotch. This man might be the first one to play VR and wet his pants. But who can stand the curtains moving? In front of the blacksmith's shop, Huloi hesitated whether to go in. After finishing both of her jobs, He went to the hospital for a week of observation and treatment at the suggestion of the game company. Until now. Only then could he find time to meet his concubine. Suddenly, the door opened. It was Grid himself. Huloi knelt on the ground excitedly. Overlord. Your servant has arrived. Grid stood still. He immediately grabbed Xiao Gaga. You are the one who made me work with that crazy woman, nah. Do you know what I've been through lately? Huloi broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly lowered his head and apologized. Okay, go ahead. I forgive you. Grid immediately threw up his hands. It's time to move on. But Huloi refused. Since you've already made me your master, from now on I am yours. As long as I can follow you, I'm willing to do anything. Hearing these words, Grid was so angry he almost blackened. Laozi is very busy and has no time to play games with you. In the woods outside Winston, Huloi watched Grid walk silently forward. And his incredibly bad luck. He couldn't help but cover his mouth in concern. This man is really unlucky. I will definitely do my best to protect him. Northern Aten Temple. The corpses scattered across the ground signaled Winston's defeat. And it was Eula who did all of this. He also smoothly became the 8th messenger. The complete black magician was born. From this point forward, the Yaten religion is rapidly growing. The minimum requirements for recruited followers have also increased. He leveled up from 160 to 170. To combat the cult, dozens of countries formed a coalition. To countless players on the side of justice, he issued a command to suppress. The first Anva and Earl of Stirling joined the battle as well. Allied forces and the Yaten religion. A world-shaking battle commenced. This is a game that could have an impact. The war of the gaming landscape. Because the game is completely free, even the game company. I don't know where the plot is going. However, there is no doubt that the appearance of the 8th messenger was the root cause of the war. Yura, who ranks 5th, also became the target of all the powerful audiences. The mission is gone. Please defeat 25 Yaten followers. Grid sighed. He directly closed the task panel. The outside world may be bustling with activity. It also has nothing to do with greed. He is just a mere blacksmith who also happens to be a debt collector. Looking at the chest armor displayed in front. It took 10 days to make a set of Shio-level suits. And implementation-level equipment. But he still couldn't get through Shishan Gorge. That's one of the most dangerous areas in the north, with the lowest monster level. They are all over 160. Why is the job transfer task located there? Grid sighed helplessly, rubbing her head. Huluin, who watched silently from afar. He showed a look of concern again. If he offered to help, will Xu Jun be angry? He couldn't care less about the guitar. Grid kept pondering how to get through the canyon. If he follows the normal game progression, he'll need to reach at least level 150 to complete the quest. Suddenly, Grid had a flash of inspiration. He is a legendary blacksmith. Looking at his character status, Grid almost slapped himself. Why did I forget this skill? If the normal way doesn't work, don't blame me for cheating. Turning in a job change quest. Place it in a dungeon that is level 160 or higher. Which idiot designed this game? Looking at the 5 remaining creation opportunities on the panel, Grid pondered, stroking his chin. I want to make myself this level 45 guy. Triumph over a horde of level 160 monsters. He has to wear a full set of equipment, the same level as mine, to face me. But how? Only then can legendary equipment be forged. Grid lowered his head, clutching it. Watching the ants taking the long way around, he finally had inspiration. Why must we fight? Just walk until you reach the portrait. For example, being a 6th child. If you want to create equipment that has stealth capabilities, it must be made with silver dragon scales. But this thing is simply not something humans can forge. According to Khan's description, the most famous stealth equipment is from a legendary tailor 200 years ago. Kaluza's manufactured invisibility cloak. But that thing is made of cloth. The scales of the hill fort, made into scales, are already in the realm of the tailor. Having learned the reason, Greed returned to his room. What type of equipment would you like to create? After entering the scales of Dopang and Hilford, Grid silently waited for the system's feedback. If blacksmiths couldn't use cloth items to craft equipment, the system would definitely reject the request. Please provide the design drawing. Looking at the familiar drawing board, Grid was overjoyed. After drawing an Eastern-style hooded sweatshirt, next you'll need to input the equipment features. With the previous experience, Grid only entered the most important requests. Wearing it allows you to become completely invisible. Click to confirm again. The system begins to improve the equipment. Just a moment. A design for a hooded sweatshirt appeared in Grid's hand. Party level exclusive. Movement speed increased by 30%. Wearing it grants invisibility. Stealth is disabled when attacking. Wind resistance is increased by 20%. No requirements to use, but crafting requires 20 Zirfalin. This design perfectly meets the requirements of Geride. Even added wind resistance. Right now, we just need to find 20 Shirfa scales. Khan almost burst out laughing. How can you catch something you can't see? This is the end. I wasted my time designing it. Gelide failed her marriage in the restroom. Khan quickly waved his hands, saying he couldn't live like Hilfu. But you can go to the north to find the two-colored beast man by blood. Those guys can find Hilford by smell. And they would treasure Hilsford's scales in their caves. Hearing these words, Grid instantly regained his fighting spirit. As long as I can create cold-resistant armor, then he could go north to find the two-colored beast men. And with the epic blacksmith hammer, it became commonplace. At the very least, I can get a complete set of rare-grade cold weather gear. 20 hours later, looking at the regular brown bear thermal underwear, Grid greeted the planner's 8 ancestors kindly. Made with the finest materials. It took 20 hours. It's still a legendary blacksmith's hammer. She only crafted common-grade equipment. This is extremely unlikely. 2 days later, Grid was finally ready to go to Northern Bloodline. Basic warm hat, regular warm cloak, rare warm gloves, and the epic brown bear, Pishwan. For a blacksmith, the most important thing is his mindset. At least there's one epic piece of equipment. Already very good. Grid forced an ugly smile. He didn't know at this moment. Zirfa's zero-piece drop rate is less than 1%. Rounding down, it's almost zero. For a hater, there's no real difference between a 1% chance and a 0.01% chance. To gather the materials for the invisibility cloak, Grid's body came to the Northern Bloodline. Snow and ice blanket this place year-round. The temperature is extremely low. And the Grid, which boasts 60% warmth. Yet he didn't refuse the wind and snow at all. Looking at the Beastman tribe in the distance, a dangerous smirk played on Grid's lips. Just a bunch of small fries. You can't stump me. Grid calmly walked to the entrance of the tribe. Seeing someone's tears welling up, the children chirped away. Grid grinned. A bunch of fools. He talks so fast that his tongue gets tangled. He immediately took out his ideal short sword. You foolish orcs, come out and die. A swift arrow shot back at him. Grid didn't even react before the arrow whizzed past his cheek. Why do mere orcs have ranged attacks? Recalling Kyan's words, this group of people didn't fear the cold, but afraid of fire. And he is stronger than the average beastman in terms of strength, physique and intellect. Now I'm doomed. I thought it was going to blow up some fish. I didn't expect to be the drunk fish, caught off guard. Grid activated rapid movement. Boost agility and dodge rate in 1 minute. A shy voice whispered in Grid's ear. It was over 10 meters away, and this guy actually shot so accurately in the gale. When the arrows stopped flying, a furious roar erupted in front of Grid. Jufu swung his axe down, and Grid quickly backed away. The blade is activated. A blade, equivalent to 60% of Grid's attack power, slashed towards the orc's weak spot. With a loud bang, he threw himself into the water. The short sword hit the target. The previous armored soldiers were all killed instantly. This guy definitely won't last. As if in answer to Grid, the foul wind pierced the air once more. The axe slammed down. Grid only had time to raise his short sword. He stared intently at the enraged orc. Her body glides across the ice and snow. Just one, yet so strong. Lousy, he was so careless. He blocked the axe again. Grid kicked out with a swift kick. Now I can only fight for my life. The blacksmith's fury ignites. Increase attack power and attack speed within 20 seconds. The only sound was the crackling of a few short swords. Blade launched another attack, empowered by status skill bonuses. This strike directly pierced the beastman's chest. The opponent received 923 points of damage. You hit the mark. Hearing the beastman's screams, Grid finally let out a sigh of relief. But the next second, the orc attacked again. Its massive axe slammed into Grid. You took 1705 damage. Grid remembered gnashing his teeth. That last strike definitely hit the mark, but this guy's recovery power was too strong. There's simply no way to kill with one blow. The sound of the magnetic latch clicked again. Grid and the orcs completely abandoned their defenses. The ultimate life potion has been successfully used. You have restored 1500 health points. Both the man and the beast seemed to have gone mad. They swung at each other. Although Grid's attack and HP were lower than his opponent's. But this guy never stops taking drugs. The stalemate continued. Fu Guang sweeps again. Grid flew backward. You took 929 damage. Your health is below 10%. The potion's cooldown is 7 seconds. In a one-on-one situation, Grid, who wants to go seal hunting. He was about to drown in the fish pond. Life goes on. Drug addiction. thanks to the ultimate life elixir. The beastman's attack was about to fall upon them. Greed, who couldn't drink the potion, gave up resistance. At that very moment, a rustling sound came from inside Grid. You have triggered the Righteous Executioner's passive. Before vanquishing the enemies before you, you will not fall. This title was granted after helping Hunui. I didn't know it could do that. The short sword gleamed once more. All attribute values increased by 30%. Feeling the power surging through me, Grid burst into laughter and lunged at him. While the other goslings gathered and waited, a figure flew out. It was the orc who was dealt with. He was dead for good. Gain 266,000 experience points. You have leveled up. Your stamina has been fully restored. Only then did Greta truly understand the exhilarating feeling of being upgraded from a desperate situation. Damn it. Lousy is here to fish. Surrounded by branches. Grid did not refuse at all. He charged forward, brandishing a short sword. The eruption of irrepressible justice. 3 days later, Hunui walked slowly among the blood ties. After consulting Khan, I learned that Shu Jun came here to gather materials. Such a trivial matter shouldn't require the commander's personal attention. Hunui held her hands behind her back. The entire person lunged at the ground. Since I've already given my heart, my faith will naturally never die. Hunui checked his backpack. All of this equipment can only be used after he starts his second job. I don't know if these things can help the main army. Suddenly, an explosion boomed from a distance. Hunui didn't have time to think. Quickly running forward. My Lord Commander, wait for me. Arriving at the orc tribe. Siagata's corpses were everywhere. Hunui was stunned by this scene. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from beside her. Damn, I'm exhausted. Grid, having officially finished the battle. With just an ordinary short sword, she slaughtered the entire orc tribe. Hunui's cheeks flushed with excitement. Worthy of being my boss's boss. Character status, level 83, HP 78-72. Looking at his status window, Grid realized his combat power had completely surpassed his pre-transcendence levels. He reached this level in just 3 days. This completely shattered Grid's worldview. But he immediately put away his smile. He looked back at Hunui. What do you want, kid? Why are you following me? I came to help you. I didn't expect the main army to be so powerful. No need for this junior to intervene. Hearing this, Grid sighed. The upgrade is pretty fast. After 3 days of fighting orcs, she only obtained 3 Sylph Soul Shards. He killed about 100 orcs, you know. This violence is too much for the factory. Don't you dare bother me. I'm in a really bad mood right now. Seeing Jeridabahyo, I immediately explained what had happened. He persisted for 50 hours. It was you who rescued me from the dungeon. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get the second career reward. Looking at Hunui's naive and innocent appearance, Grid was furious. Damn it. Why are you the first dual-class player? It was me, damn it, who risked my neck to save them. In that case, Grid grabbed Hunui by the collar. He is the son. To be a father forever. From now on, you're my eldest son. I will find the 20 pieces of Shier Fu's spirit. There should be more orcs in the orc cave. Go kill them for me. Before they could continue talking, it suddenly went dark in front of her. A little Gaga, far surpassing other beasts, stood before Grid. This is the leader of the 2-colored beast men. This is also the final boss of this level 140 instance. Starting with a son. Equipment comes from battles. This time, father and son ran into some very bad luck. The giant axe brought with it a whirlwind of noise. Grid and Hunui. She ran headlong out of the cave. Why did he target the bus to come out on its own? Is there a relative of his in the village? But at this escape speed, they are both likely to be caught. In that case, Hunui tried to stall him. I need to find a safe place to log off. Who would have thought that Hunui? He actually agreed. But before she could feel moved, Hunui's running speed. Surprisingly, she surpassed him. Don't panic, Commander. My name is Companion of the Righteous. Fighting alongside you will boost both of our stats by 30%. And I'm already level 138. With your help, taking him down won't be a problem. Thinking of Hunui's behavior in the cell, Grid tentatively believed him. Ugly words first, the bus is coming for me. So the reward is all mine. Hunui nodded, without meaning. Team formed. Equipment allocation. The team captain receives all equipment. Until now. Hunui then saw Grid's level. Why could class of 83 advance beyond their level? Defeat the level 140 monster horde. How did you do it, Commander? Are you a hidden epic level player? Hearing this, Grid turned his head with a helpless expression on his face. Epic level players are nothing. I'm their epic level dad. Legendary player. So you just be a good boy and follow dad, you'll have good things to eat in the future. As they spoke, Grid ran to the side. You take care of the bus. I'll take care of the grunts. The admiration I just felt instantly plummeted. Am I letting the thief be my father? Hunui took a deep breath. Real men never regret. Laozi said. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Provocation skill activated. With Hunui's roar, the bus was immediately drawn to it. He experienced the joy of becoming a father. The blacksmith's fury intensified. Irrepressible justice was unleashed. The horizontal sweep of the short sword's blade. A thick beam of sword light shot out. The young lads were beaten back. This is not the end. The blade is close behind. This is Greed's deadly 3-hit combo, a large-scale combination extermination technique. You have received 2 Hilfred spirit fragments. After killing 11 you get 2. Violence has finally returned to normal. The immediate priority is to deal with the bus. But Grid had just turned around. The bus had already arrived. Huloi stood there, a look of helplessness on her face, challenging time. I can't help it. The theater administration issued a harsh criticism. Grid was caught off guard and didn't fully dodge. You took 104 damage. You took 97 damage. This damage stunned Grid. Feng Dao immediately launched a counterattack. Wind Blade without status bonus. It actually did harm the bus. Is this the mixed result of the envoy's partner? Even so, bus's pushback effect still prevented Grid from getting close. Because this is the real level 140 bus. Can Laozi really win this fight? With his massive frame, he simply stood there. It sends chills down one's spine. This is the face of the 140 level dungeon bus. Just as fear arose within Grid's heart, holy light enveloped the scene. Legendary professions never give up. The next second, Grid yelled. Right now! Huloi seized the opportunity and charged forward. Unwavering justice. A flash of light passed by, then Xingzhong's bus was in the rearview mirror. This blow made the leader scream incessantly. Grid also took the opportunity to ride over. It's still the justice that cannot be subdued. The moment the short sword left its sheath, the blade followed closely. Directly shattered the bus's windshield. Huloi, squeezing onto the bus with me. They both jumped up. With exceptional unconventionality. This is another major blow to Bus. Though he is young, but as a teammate, it works pretty well when we work together. Suddenly Xiao Gaga roared. He went into a fit of rage. Look closely. Their attack. She only broke Bus's helmet. It didn't cause any substantial damage. He didn't give them a chance to continue fighting. Xiao Gaga gripped the axe in both hands. It swept past. This attack had a huge range and was incredibly fast. They both flew backwards. Gelide hadn't even landed yet. Xiao Gaga unexpectedly took the initiative to run after them. The giant axe swept horizontally again. There was simply no chance to dodge. Grid and Huloi fell to the ground, both injured. Ni received 5,300 points of damage. One hit left Grid with only a sliver of health. Huloi was even more unlucky, despite her relatively high level. But his health was lower than Grid's. If a single blow deals over 40% damage, players may experience a 3-second blackout. Gelide also relied on legendary Pokemon professions to endure. Otherwise, they'll both have to go offline in order takeout. BAS roared and charged again. The giant axe came crashing down. So he wanted to finish off Huloi. There was a loud boom. Smoke and dust instantly obscured the view. When everything calmed down, Huloi woke up from her faint. But the scene before him made him stare in disbelief. Grid took the blow from base with his own body. In this comic, I am the main character. You can't do anything without my permission. No one can force you to order takeout. This remark almost made them no longer father and son. Under the immortal skill, Grid has only 1 drop of blood left. Quickly give him the medicine. I must eliminate this brat. Suddenly, Huzi shone once again. Xiao Gaga silently continued to recover. Huloi didn't move a muscle, calmly waiting for the attack to fall. Just as the axe was about to make contact, Huloi resolutely turned her head. You this dad? I'm certain. Looking around for her son. This is the first time I've seen a story that's so down. Huloi stubbornly used his sharp willpower. He took the blow from Ba head on. This gave Greed a chance to drink a health potion. It's kind of like this. These are specifically prepared for skinny two-toned people. As the Molotov cocktails kept flying out, the intense flames engulfed Xiao Gaga in an instant. That's great. It seemed like the battle at Bath was at a standstill. The two lunged forward together. The sword light kept flashing. But Base remained completely still. This won't do. His weakness is fire. But we can't break through their defenses at all. Hearing this, Greed confidently smiled. Let me see him off for the last time. The short blade began to gather strength. Huloi, however, sensed something amiss at that moment. But it was too late. He didn't even wait for Greta's attack to land. Bossy suddenly regained mobility and kicked the unsuspecting Gel-eyed. This completely froze Greed solid again. The skinny group held the single-leg step on Grid. He took a red ball out of his pocket. Under Hunoi's astonished gaze, magic starts to surge when he serves. With the crackling sound growing stronger, Shuren's Huzhang abruptly raised the serve. The sky suddenly crackled with red lightning. A vast expanse of red enveloped Basa's entire body. This must be the leader's last resort. He must be stopped. But at this moment, Greed couldn't break free from the restraints. He could only watch as the giant axe fell. Suddenly Ba stopped moving. He sensed danger beside him. Hunui raised his short sword high. A blinding light suddenly began to coalesce. I've never used this trick before. I'll use you as a test subject. As power coalesced, Hunui's health bar was completely depleted. Die for the Lord, following the cold voice that fell, and that brilliant flash of sword light. With a resounding thud, the orc leader was completely surrounded by the sword light. Such destructive power. This attack should finish the fight. But something that surprised everyone happened. The orc leader let out only a single cry of pain. His unsteady steps abruptly came to a halt. He roared and charged at Hunui again. At this moment, Hunui was completely powerless. The rest of the army is in your hands. I'll reply first. You can definitely do it. The words had barely left her lips. The beastman's axe had already fallen. There was a loud cracking sound. Hunui began to fall apart. Your teammate has died. He completely vanished beneath the beastman's axe. Since we've come this far, let's do it for Hunui. Just go die. The blacksmith's fury ignites. Rapid move launch. Grid stared intently at the charging orcs. This blow must hit his vital point. And the real weakness. Right here. The blade is activated. The blinding blade pierced the beastman's chest. Seeing this attack effect, Grid was stunned. Could Hunui's final blow have lowered the opponent's defense? But before she could continue thinking, a flash of light passed by. Grid was hit hard again. We are almost there. Why isn't this guy dead yet? Grid slumped back, defeated. I'm sorry, Hunui. I couldn't do it. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope shone in Gretel's eyes. Just the Springer effect activated. All stats increased by 30%. Unyielding Justice CD has concluded. Grid's fighting spirit rekindled. The only upward sweep of a few short swords. The dazzling sword tip thrust upward. Time seemed to stop at that moment. Suddenly, a loud crack. The giant axe broke with a clang. The orc leader also knelt on the ground, motionless. Suddenly, the huge body crashed to the ground. The battle is over. Congratulations. The bicolor beastman leader has been executed. Level 140 dungeon. How strong can Bath be? At the cost of Hunui's deathblow, Gel-eyed finally cleared the entire dungeon. This was the first time he had attacked a dungeon above level 100. Grid couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at the spoils on the table, although I wasn't able to gather 20 Zirfa scales. But the harvest was indeed quite fruitful. The only legendary set, the two-tone orc leader's helmet, and its accompanying set pieces, grants the wearer the ability to transform into the two-tone orc leader and unite the entire orc tribe. Honglei summoning orb can enhance a weapon's attack power and grant it lightning properties. And 2 blessed weapon strengthening stones. And 3 blessed armor enhancement stones. As for animal skin, this low-level material, Grid stopped carrying a long time ago. He picked up the blessed enhancement stone and examined it carefully. This is the first time I have ever gotten this item. A normal, Changhua Shi, is destroyed when it fails to upgrade. Reinforcement level will be reduced by 3. Using this will only reduce it by 1. Therefore, the price is 12 times that of a regular strengthening stone. A single reinforcement stone is already worth 4,200. But then he remembered the sacrificed Hunui. Guilt flickered in Greed's heart. Xuanji, oblivious, pocketed all the rewards. What's a son's is naturally the father's, and what's a father's is of course. It's still dad's. Just then, Khan walked in. He picked up the animal hide that Greed had discarded. This material is used for armor lining. Seeing Khan interested, Grid waved dramatically. Since you like it, then I'll just give it to you. You made it into a suit of armor and gave it to me as a gift. It was a back and forth exchange. We both made a killing, no loss. Before Khan could react, Grid turned and headed to the auction house. He bought 10 regular strengthening stones directly. Spending 1,000 gold coins at once really made Grid wince. But there's no invisibility cloak, only maximizing combat power. Shishan Gorge is no easy feat to conquer. Taking down a level 140-something boss nearly cost me my life. There are even scarier beings there. Grid stared at the strengthening stone in his hand. There's only one way to go, and that's to strengthen our equipment. He immediately chose a secluded spot and drew out his ideal short sword. People used to say that if you want to avoid hair loss, you need to use hair oil. Strengthen what you shouldn't touch. And his father, who is a real jerk to him, he still owes so much money. Since I've decided to shoulder the burden of repaying this debt, then you have to successfully change careers. Then, Grid grasped his short sword. Laozi has practiced Sinji for many years. Finally, it's come in handy. Reinforced only to +5. Absolutely no chasing after the high. Start enhancing. With the enhancement stone, contact 5 skills. The ideal short sword enhancement succeeded. Strengthen +1, strengthened successfully. Reinforce +2. Reinforced to +4 in one go. Never failed once. Grid's smile gradually became perverted. Congratulations on successfully enhancing to +5. He gazed at the +5 enhanced short sword in his hand. Grid couldn't help but lift the corners of his mouth. The attack power has been significantly enhanced. Fitness is also starting to shine its unique light. This game starts from reinforcement +6. The probability of success will decrease exponentially. Of course, Grid wouldn't be that stupid. Adding 5 is the most cost-effective choice. But I had such good luck today. Why isn't it +6 enhancement? What if it works? Enhance +1 success. This is the beginning of good fortune. Enhancement +2 success. Jia 3 success. Until +5. Grid suddenly felt. Today, I am the luckiest guy in the world. The top 5 enhancement probability is quite high. This is also the limit of the Link Party. Grid's initial plan was to stop strengthening at this point. He shouldn't be trapped in this situation with 3 million in debt. But who could resist the allure of a +6 enhancement? Adding 6 is where the difference between ordinary players begins. Just one more success, and my weapon will shine. Grid quickly bowed his head, trying to dismiss the crazy thought. But it only takes one time. At the auction house entrance, Grid suddenly jumped back. Give me 10 more reinforcing stones. Strengthening failure. Reinforcement level reduced by 3. Enhance +3 success. Enhancement failed. Enhancement level reduced by 3. After using 12 enhancement stones, I'm back to square one. Grid was completely red in the face at this moment. Town Center Square. Grid held the gleaming +6 blue weapon, standing quietly in the center. He eventually spent 2,000 gold coins, equivalent to 14,000 yuan in cash. Finally reached +6. But feeling the envious glances from the little guys. It was all worth it. At that very moment, the real gold-buying boss walked over. It was the blood-forged warrior Cats. Kid, are Jia Lu's weapons powerful? I wonder if it can compare to Laozi's +8 longsword. A golden light instantly illuminated the entire arena. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Grid felt bored. So what if it's enhancement +8? The joy derived from spending money is fleeting. I am a commoner, you know. Do you understand the significance of the commoner's party having a +6 weapon? Hearing these words, Cats jokingly waved his white hand. He walked away from the crowd without saying a word. Back to the smithy. Grid worked even harder on crafting equipment. Remembering Katz's mockery, Grid decided to hold back from using the blessing stone. It costs 14,000 yuan to get to Jia 6. If it costs extra, I'm not gonna be a sucker. At that very moment, Khan walked up. The beast hide armor is ready. Go check it out. First, remove the covering cloth. Reflected in her eyes was a legendary piece of equipment. Defense increased by 359. Physical damage reduced by 20%. This is the best piece of equipment I've made so far. I hope it helps you. Grid excitedly picked up the armor. A brilliant smile returned to his face. The displeasure brought by the lone dog vanished completely. Within Sacrifice Valley, Grid, fully armed, arrived at the perimeter. The two-colored helmet of the team leader. Kane's masterpiece. Epic iron gloves. Rare boots. This is the strongest build he can offer. Finally. Of course, there is also a +8 short sword. To be honest, the blessed enhancement stone is really useful. Strengthening +6 is simply not enough. Only enhancement +8 is the ultimate romance for men. Grid continued deeper into the canyon. The terrain here is very dangerous. He walked cautiously along the cliff edge. Right now, his top priority is completing the job transfer. The ideal short sword with the added 8 is super cool. But a level 180 weapon can't compare with a level 250 Hergni. More importantly, you can also obtain Pagma's swordsmanship. For a blacksmith with only 4 skills, adding a damage skill is a leap forward for the fighting spirit. Looking at the cave on the cliff, Grid bent down and began to sprint to explore the area. He had already checked the strategy guide and knew he had to avoid unnecessary battles. Suddenly, a level 162 canyon lizard appeared before Grid. Impossible. I have carefully followed the route given in the guide. Why am I still encountering minor enemy attacks? C6 all over. The lizard's long tongue shot out. Grid panicked. Before he could react, the lizard's tail thrashed repeatedly. Grid still chose to dodge. He aimed so well, it was almost cheating. Do you really think you can beat me? The Jia-8 short sword shines brightly. The blacksmith's anger deepened. The blade's skill shot out explosively. This blow made the lizard cry out in pain. He took 230 points of damage. This damage number came out. Grid lowered his head and looked at the short sword in his hand. Its base attack power had been strengthened. Skill damage has naturally increased a lot. In that case, Grid took the initiative. Unyielding justice commences. The iron fist slammed down on the lizard. As the canyon lizard crumbled, 329,000 experience points went into the bag. A level 85 character easily defeats a level 162 monster. No wonder those Clang are so arrogant. Footsteps suddenly echoed from overhead. A group of level 185 lizardmen were drawn to the sounds of battle. This is really not going well. Another group of pesky little kids just showed up. But this time, Grid didn't choose to run away. Li Xiang's short sword flew towards the lizardman. A harsh metallic clang rang out. But damn it, this attack didn't even break through the opponent's defense. The lizardman closed in. It was too late to escape now. You took 2019 damage. You took 1504 damage. Grid staggered backward involuntarily. Without the armor Khan made, these two machines are enough to bring Grid's health down to the lowest. 3 lizardmen followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the greed surrounded him. He must find a way to break out of the encirclement. Unyielding justice commences. Grid slammed hard against the shield. This machine sent the little Gaga flying backward. Feng Dao immediately struck. The 3 little Gagas had to scatter. Opportunity knocks. Quickly start the engine. Grid seized the opportunity to approach one of the little Gagas. This is empowered by state skills. Grid's figure was like a phantom. He launched 6 attacks in a flash. Every machine is incredibly precise. This operation is quite clever. As the little geese cried miserably, Grid once again obtained 948,000 experience points. He cursed. Finally, it's over. I told you, you couldn't withstand the blacksmith's wrath. But looking at his remaining HP and MP, Grid silently took out the potion of life. It was just a small monster, it would be fine if she fought it. As long as I don't run into an elite monster. For example, the canyon spider. How dark can Fate Yo get? Following the guidebook, you're just walking the same path as everyone else. You might also encounter small monster attacks while strolling. Forget about all of this. But the spider in front of him, what kind of coincidence was that? Canyon spider level 188. It is the top predator in the Shishan Canyon. They usually don't easily leave their nest. But Greed just had to barge in. This is just a classic case of GABA deficiency. With a resounding thud, the spider's silk shot towards Grid like a cannonball. How the heck am I supposed to fight this? The lizardmen were before him. It's just a dessert with a slightly hardened surface. Just as the thought of retreating arose, Greed's body shone once more. Legend has it a few players fear nothing. The blade is activated. Grid fearlessly charged forward. The opponent received 300 points of damage. Looking at his touching output, Greed froze. At that very moment, a roar echoed once more. It was the spider silk shooting from the tree again. Sensing the intensity of the opponent's attack, Grid knew very well that one shot would be enough. The effect of immortality must be triggered. The blacksmith's anger deepened. The blade strikes again. Sharp sword energy soared to the sky. The opponent received 344 points of damage. With the blacksmith's rage bonus, it only dealt 344 damage. This defense is outrageous. Grid quickly pulled away. According to this playstyle, he was destined to die in his own web. The blade of the long-range attack was completely useless. The only thing we can rely on now is justice, which cannot be subdued. But there's no way to get close. The desperate blacksmith. A bold idea suddenly came to mind. Since this is a game focused on freedom, then I'll gamble. Blade readies another strike. Grid moved his short sword, aiming in every direction. Before Blade's activation, he carries the unbearable weight of justice, also injected into the short sword. The next second, the blade shot out. Jinji lunged at the spider monster's abdomen. In a flash, a violent explosion consumed everything. Blinding light obscured Grid's vision. As the spider monster screamed, Grid was taken aback. It's actually possible to play like that. You have successfully combined your skills to obtain the new skill, Righteous Wind, dedicated to improving the times. The Righteous Wind can deal 320% area damage to enemies within 6 meters. Grid was completely convinced. This game was truly free. The heavily wounded spider monster tumbled down the cliff face. Suddenly, he thrashed and roared. Grid paid him no mind. He immediately jumped up. The effect of the iron glove was also being released at this moment. He can hit his opponent twice in a row. Grid roared and stabbed down. Both attacks landed squarely on the spider's abdomen, kicking up a cloud of dust. The sheer cliff embraced a colossal cloud of dust. After doing all that, Grid squatted on the ground, gasping for breath. The spider monster in front of him finally began to seal. Congratulations! You have defeated the canyon spider and earned 387,500 experience points. You have been upgraded. Grid laughed heartily. This is the right way to experience immersive gaming. On the peak of the mountain not far away, a little boy was silently watching everything. Although this guy seems a little silly, but he can take on the canyon spider alone. It's enough to avenge me, Asmafii. I will make you pay for what you did. It's a momentary pleasure. Feigning ignorance is momentarily satisfying. The biggest tragedy in life is to be a fake. But no one can see the depths of Sacrifice Valley. Trapped in the thick spiderweb, 3 small Gagas struggled, unable to move. They are the thieves from the class of 1987, the level 87 Fire Mage. There are also fighters from the 88th class. These guys were Greed's high school classmates. Back in school, she was quite the formidable figure. But they overestimated themselves and formed a team to challenge the level 180 dungeon. The strength of the spider silk is simply beyond their level to break. Now I can only wait to die in silence. Just then, a figure gradually appeared from the intersection. He discarded a pile of low-grade materials. What bad luck, muttered Grid. The 3 little Gagas also noticed him. If you are a high-level player, then let's shout for help. Maybe he's trying to help us. Hearing the shouts, Grid Taishan walked over. He stared blankly at the 3 people. Gelide immediately stopped. He immediately turned and ran. He didn't dare to say a word. How did those guys get here? Last year at the class reunion? They also heavily ridiculed Grid, who was a gamer who relied on the internet to play games. Friendless, Greed dared not resist. After all, these guys are notorious hoodlums. Nowadays, in games I often encounter. You never know, they might just steal your stuff. As he ran, Gelide suddenly realized something was wrong. He's aiming at something in the game, and he's already very strong now. Even canyon spiders are no match for her. What can spider food do to me? As the 3 of them discussed whether to risk the death penalty. When exiting the game directly, that mysterious person went back on his word again. Do you need my help? Looking at Grid's grim expression, Xiao Gaga couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Could they have run into a pervert? Grid pretended not to recognize it and tugged at the spiderweb. So this is what's been holding you back. In front of the reinforced Gabba's short sword, spider silk, as strong as steel, instantly tempered like tofu. Seeing this, the little Gagas became even more sophisticated. Only Gabba can make the weapon shine like this. Is he a leaderboard player? Grandmaster. Help us. Gridley smiled. No problem, but you have to put up all your money. Don't expect me to lift a finger otherwise. He was trying to take advantage of the situation. Are you crazy? Before Zygaga could finish speaking, he slammed his fist down. One hit took out 2/3 of Zygaga's health. He wants the goods but is unwilling to pay the price. Do you really think I'm a pushover? This punch made every pore on Grid's body tremble. This feels so damn good. Zygaga was so furious after being punched that she nearly ground her molars to dust. Are you trying to be a tough guy in the game? If you have the guts, give me your address. Lousy wants to give you the real deal. Grid looked at the angry Gaga speechlessly. What can you do to me? I am Lousy Magiatin. If you're so capable, then come find me through the internet cable. Now it's your turn. If you want to help, help. If you don't, leave. Why are you torturing them? The one speaking was the kindest of the trio. In high school, he once apologized to Grid privately. But she can hang out with those 2 scumbags. How much better can it get? I am not a devil. Now's your chance. Call me, Dad, and I'll help you escape. That's a good deal, isn't it? What should you do when you encounter your nemesis in a game, someone you can't beat in real life? Of course, he's torturing them. But little Gaga was tough. If you have the guts, kill us. Still want us to beg for mercy? Are you kidding me? It was now Grid's turn to be embarrassed. If you forcefully kill a player, you might be caught and sent to jail. Even his reputation will be diminished. Grid turned and walked away. Since you disagree, then you are on your own. You've bullied me for so long, and you still want me to let you go. Don't screw with me. Wait until Grid leaves. The little ducklings had completely lost hope. It seems we have no other choice but to force a withdrawal. A moment passed. Grid, who had left, returned to the spider cave. This time he brought a big treasure. It's a pipe dream to want to die easily. But the spider web was empty now. Now, Grid was completely stunned. He actually chose to quit the game. So I ended up catching a spider to torture myself? The magnificent waterfall, reaching 1,300 meters in height, cascades downwards. This is the most spectacular sight in the Shishan Gorge. Deep within the Shishan Gorge lies Luolan Waterfall. Grid was also amazed by the scene before her. He opened his mouth in shock. But where is Gemma's sword dance? Based on the task details, the image should be around here somewhere. But there's nothing here but water and rocks. Suddenly, Gel-eyed discovered something. The cave behind the waterfall. Could the portrait be in the cave? Ka-An's ancestors weren't very straightforward. Couldn't they have just given me a map? It has to be this intense. Entering the depths of the cave. What stood before Grid was countless portraits. This is the sword dance of Pagma. But the rock was completely covered in silk, so it was impossible to see. The art style is really good. Grid kept searching. He was waiting for the system's prompt. But there's still no reaction. Do I have to rely on the portrait? Are you afraid of Kegama's sword dance? But there is a detailed manual. Can Lousy fail? 3 hours later. Grid was furious and vented his anger inside the cave. Damn it, why couldn't he complete the hint? Greed, wiping the sweat from his brow, suddenly noticed. There was a portrait hidden beneath her feet. At this moment, you have mastered the sword dance of Pajima. The first job transformation is complete. It turns out all you need to do is look at the whole picture. Pagma's sword dance's activated state increases attack power by 20% and critical hit chance by 10%. With activated skills, you can obtain 5 sword dance moves. It deals 155% physical attack damage to all enemies within 1 meter radius, with a slowing effect. This renders the user invulnerable to enemies for 3 seconds. Lianke deals 500% physical damage to a single target. Kill inflicts 1,500% physical attack damage on a single target, accompanied by bleed and despair effects. Attack power increased by 200%. Basic skill A switches to ranged attack. This is freaking awesome. One skill is worth 5. But seeing the blue amount consumed, Grid slumped again. Reaching a shot chili of 400 takes effort. Let a blacksmith, a master craftsman, lend me his strength. This is ridiculous, it's pulling my leg. Pagma's swordsmanship includes 1 passive and 5 active skills. With both offense and defense, this is simply a divine artifact for murder and robbery. Grid, having completed the task, quickly walked back along the return path. He's in a hurry to go back and make money. Suddenly, in the river beside me, for level 175 merfolk burst forth. The closer these guys get to the water, the stronger they become. Greed's mouth curled into a dangerous smirk. Quickly put on the mask. There'll be a perfect test of Jian Wu's power. Short blade, high stakes. Grid unconsciously assumed his sword stance. The next second, Jianren Feiwu. To the initiator. An invisible halo enveloped Greed. The 4 mermaids were completely unable to approach. Seizing this opportunity, Grid quickly pulled out his mana potion. Just 1 strike had consumed half of his mana. He needed to recover quickly. Grid switched back to airplane mode. It is just a wind-powered fan. Crimson sword light burst forth. Directly into the mermaid colony. He instantly killed a merman. Immediately afterward, Greed charged into the mermaid colony, roaring. Rapid move launch. But Pa did not wait to attack. He was stabbed in the back by the mermaid. Having lost 1/3 of his health, Greed didn't use a health potion. The top priority right now is maximizing mana output. Short blade raised high once more. Grid struck a strange pose. Pagma's swordsmanship activated. The shock wave was like a whirlpool. It burst out from Greta's body in a circular shape. 155% physical attack. 3 mermaids died instantly. It's easier to level up. Gain 10 attribute points. He has experienced the power of Jianwu. Grid unhesitatingly added the stat points to intelligence. As a legendary blacksmith, attribute values are the most common things. It won't be long. Then he could use the full set of swordsmanship. Your strength is impressive. A strange man appeared in front of Grid. When he looked closely, Kai discovered it was an NPC named Pai Aluo. Don't worry, I just need your help. Hearing this, Grid froze for a moment. Did I just trigger a hidden plot? But before they could continue their conversation, the sound of splashing footsteps echoed closely behind. Look at this amount. At least a dozen? Grid as a motivational cut-off. Pointing at Piero and yelling. This guy killed your kind. Hearing this, Piero's face instantly darkened. The long sword is drawn. The blade danced in the air. With just 1 blow, all the mermaids were taken care of. I highly recognize your strength. Your shamelessness disgusts me. Well, since we're fated to meet, Whether or not you help me is your choice. When the NPC finished speaking, an S-level quest prompt popped up. Execute the true traitor of the Red Knight Order. Completion requirements. Eliminate S mode. Upon completion, the title Avenger will be awarded, and activate the brutal attribute. The Red Knights are the strongest knight order on the entire continent. Asimov is their vice captain. The title rewards are quite attractive. But Greed was too busy making money to complete the task. Lizzie refuses. Seeing Grid's decisiveness, Pialo raised a long sword in his hand. Level 1. Attack power, 380. Gains the skill Enlightenment. Chang Jian gently touched Greed. This instantly dealt 7,500 points of damage to Grid. Just the Springer effect activated. All stats increased by 30%. Grid was utterly shocked. He almost shattered just by touching me. You have 2 options to complete the task. I additionally gift you this long sword. Or I'll just kill you now. You would never guess. How strong can this man be? Just a light touch. The damage is as high as 7,500. This almost beat the crap out of Grid, the main character. This guy is freaking awesome. So you want to kill players who don't accept quests? Grid fell silent. The mission failed, and he was demoted 4 levels. Only 2 levels are lost upon death. Laozi chose to quickly return to the city. Such a lonely player. This was Piao Luo's first sword. You can go. I won't attack innocent people. If you change your mind, you can always come back to me. Back to the smithy. Grid looked at the mission rewards excitedly. The Sword of Hegni, rank 1. Attack power ranges from 451 to 635. He also has the skill of Brilliant Light, even though he ranks high in the Gaowan. It's not necessarily better than the sword I have. Now that the job change task is done, what should I do next? Who could have guessed that Khan would only let Greed take a break? No further tasks were provided. Could it be that I haven't reached it yet? Task trigger conditions. Just as Grid fell into thought, Winston's soldiers came to invite. Since the 8th test subject appeared, Winston's war against the Aten cult is losing ground. The cult members have started to reverse their investment. Due to the 20% experience bonus event, countless players joined the Aten church. This administrative officer's assigned task is double a level. Completion requirements. Create an epic divine shield within 2 days. Rewards vary based on the equipment level. Failure will terminate the transaction and the chain quest will disappear. This shield is blessed by the goddess of light. He has an additional defense bonus against dark magic and followers of the Aten religion. Plus, with the blessing of the light parents she serves, this shield is definitely going to be the weapon to deal with the Aten cult. The flames filled the furnace. Grid carefully poured the secret camp into the unmapped area. To purchase equipment materials, Grid spent the remaining 17,000 gold pens. But it's only enough to make 2 shields. Give some face, Gyuning. Looking at Grid, busy crafting on the screen. The game operator was also baffled, refusing all hidden quests just to quickly craft equipment. What's this kid's deal? Doesn't he play games to get stronger? However, some players are addicted to even the most difficult places, and their little hobby of crafting equipment is something they can't let go of. 2 days later, Grid worked for 40 straight hours. She only went offline once. The next step is to apply a light blessing. As Xiao Gaga released the light magic, Dake-style Glide slowly opened his eyes. Is it finally over? Looking at the rare shield in his hand, Grid almost cursed. You're not sent by the operation team to mess with me, are you? You took the wrong one. This is the finished product. The legendary Flawless Sacred Shield possesses 2 skills, Holy Light and Divine Protection. It also has a very high chance of completely resisting dark magic. Finally done. This is the second legendary equipment Laozi crafted. Grid excitedly handed the shield to the administrator, eagerly awaiting the task completion notification. You've worked hard. You can go back and rest now. Now it was Grid's turn to be stunned. What the heck? 3 times in a row, without even preparing? Can mission rewards also go offline? Could it be that NPCs have also learned the art of freeloading? The legendary Sacred Shield. It comes with 2 active skills and a passive skill that resists dark magic. This thing is like a god-tier exploit against the Church of Asia Pacific. But the administrator was preparing to freeload. He also ordered his soldiers to arrest Grid. Just as Grid was about to call the mayor's hotline, 12345, Zyagata of the Sheng sect pressed her palms together. The light of purification is activated. Blinding light filled the room. In the glow of the light, the official seemed to have lost his soul. The whole person fell to the ground. I found it strange from the very beginning. Only the paladins of Libica Church can use the Holy Shield. But you only invited me, the priest, and not the paladin who can use equipment. And she even wanted to freeload off Master Taizhang. You are the one behind this cult, aren't you? The words had barely left her lips. Inside the room, an old man shrouded in darkness appeared out of nowhere. You are quite impressive to have uncovered my plan from such subtle clues. However, a small sacrifice won't stop me. When heard these words, Xiao Gaga was not at all flustered. The next second, Blacksmith Meng exploded. A woman in a flowing robe entered. She certainly couldn't stop it. But what about me? The newcomer's name was Isabella, an NPC that Grid had never seen before. Easy believers. Surrender. As she spoke, Isabella took out her weapon. Raphael's spear appeared in her hand. Being the daughter of goddess Libeka, Isabel's strength is undeniable. Seeing this scene, Xiao Gaga lost the will to fight. He ran outside, holding his shield. Want to escape from my grasp? You are not qualified. In the blink of an eye, the room was empty, only leaving a bewildered Grid behind. This plot is freaking awesome. But what about my gold coins? Until half an hour later, still without the mentioned task, Grid completely panicked. Damn it, they're playing monkey in the middle with me. A small town in the southern part of the Etna Kingdom. This is the territory of the Giant Workers Guild, one of the strongest guilds. Grid made equipment. This finally caught President Chris's attention. As the third-ranked player, he knew the rules of this game. The importance of advanced equipment. We must find Winston's blacksmith. Persuade him to join our union. Looking at the two tasks on the union panel. Justice League's Gaga. Searching for suspicious targets on the streets of Winston City. At that very moment, the newcomer, Zhong, danced to Greed. Dejected, she walked over. Regis had seen Greed in Bailon village. Through conversation, Greta determined that the boy was a good person. Why not ask him to get the shield back? After all, who could refuse a pitiful blacksmith? Just as Grid was about to successfully ignite the fire, Jishuka, the president, suddenly interrupted the spell. Hurry up and finish the task for me. We don't have time to help kids fix their mistakes. Now, Grid was furious. Is being the president a big deal? He is not your slave. Why should he listen to you? The argument between the two sparked a frenzy of gossip among countless players. To uphold the image of the Justice League, Jishuka had to compromise. Go and come back quickly, or I won't let you off the hook. Right after the two of them left, someone recognized Grid. Isn't that Kragel's disciple? He previously represented Khan in the Blacksmith's showdown. Jishuka instantly understood the conversation. This kid likely knew Irene's whereabouts. He quickly messaged Regis. Little Gaga refused to accept any messages. He dared to ignore me. He wouldn't even have water to wash his feet with when he got back. A dark cult. Why fight over equipment that restricts our own side? Because dark magic was cast upon this sacred shield. Then pair it with the sacrifice of a pure maiden. You will gain unexpected benefits. Aileen the Liege is the perfect sacrifice. The next day, Regias and Grid were panting as they climbed to the top of the mountain. If the one who steals the equipment is a Yatan believer, then he's most likely already back in his lair. This is the closest outpost to the Yatan temple. Watching over a dozen young guards, Grid was about to think of a solution. Regis suddenly rushed out. With a sputtering sound. It was just a matter of moments. Regas has dealt with all the little Gagas, but just entered the cave. The two of them received a system warning. The sixth messenger had appeared due to the influence of powerful dark magic. You will suffer negative effects such as fear and weakness. The next second, darkness crept from the depths of the cave along the wall. Grid instantly hid in a flash. Negative effects don't impact legends or professions. But Regis wasn't so lucky. His abdomen was frozen right through. There wasn't even time to react. Seeing that she was completely unfazed, Grid Regis felt a surge of admiration. In this game, you can't directly see a player's level. Gelide was clearly mistaken for Gawan. At that very moment, the sixth messenger revealed his true form. Ignorant invaders. I will send you all to hell. Seeing the approaching dark figure, Grid drew his Jian. He really thought he was invincible. The blade is activated. The dark figure was easily sliced to pieces. Seeing the attack being blocked, Legas drank a health potion while calling for backup. But he just opened the message. Jishuka's furious voice boomed out. President, now is not the time to talk about this. The sixth messenger appeared near Winston. With just the two of us, we stood no chance. But before Regis could continue, Jishuka forcefully interrupted him. Forget about the sixth emissary. The person with you is Ka-An's apprentice. You can find him through her. The woman named Mina. Rapid movement, the blacksmith's fury. Grid took the initiative. Just as he was about to reach the sixth apostle, a giant sword materialized in his hand. It was the hegemony blade, now enhanced to level 5. Pagma sword dance, 5th form, activates. With the high attack power of the 250 level giant sword, It also deals 500% physical attack damage with a combo. This sword strike will be Greed's, the strongest sword ever recorded. The cave shook violently as a deafening explosion ripped through it. Stay until everything calms down. Astonishingly, the sixth messenger was completely unharmed. This guy's Dofeng has a problem. Could it be high magic resistance equipment? Jelai didn't continue to think. The sixth messenger has launched a counterattack. The divine power is activated. Such a close distance. Grid had nowhere to hide. A blow landed on his cheek. Even his helmet was shattered. That's awful. Pagma's sword dance, fifth form, activates. A ring suddenly appeared beneath him. To the field below. The sixth messenger was pushed out with great force. He couldn't get within 3 meters of Greed. Seizing this opportunity, Grid hurried out of the cave. At that moment, Rega seemed to have noticed something. Smiling, she didn't move. Suddenly, an arrow flew. The light from ancient times